Hmm. Hmm. Good evening, everyone, and my warm welcome to all of you to take the time out and be on the webinar on time for this particular webinar to be conducted on guidance for income tax return filing for the financial year 2024-2025, assessment year 2025-26. So on behalf of KnowTaxx Consultants Private Limited, I, CA Vivek Doshi, warmly welcome all of you to this particular webinar. And before I start with my technical presentation with regards to the webinar and the important aspects with regards to the filing of income tax return and stuff like that, I would like to, in general, talk about income tax as a law, as a practice. Also, a little bit about myself and the kind of experience that I bring to the table, and how and why is this particular thing so important, especially in your financial journey, right? So, beginning with myself, my name is CA Vivek Doshi, and I am a practicing chartered accountant since 2005. So, it's been almost 20 years that I am into this particular field. I specialize in the field of direct taxes. I have a pre-qualification experience of 5 years, so the total experience is more than 25 years. And I have been a faculty at various reputed institutions and organizations such as the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, Institute of Financial Accountants of India, also at various leading coaching classes for CA final students such as JK Shah Commerce classes, Professional Academy, and other organizations all across India. Right. So direct taxes and international taxation has been my core area of specialization. Nowadays, you see, filing of income tax returns has become extremely important, especially with the government having a lot of tools, the government being much more vigilant. There is so much of financial reporting happening all across. There is so much of data being shared with the government that it is almost impossible, to go without being noticed. And that is the reason, filing income tax returns becomes extremely more important, because earlier in the good old days when I was doing my articleship and when I was, starting off with my career, there were many things which were being missed out, and nobody would ever know because the government did not have a mechanism at all to actually come and verify. So the whole point was that at that particular point in time, people had a callous attitude, and at the same point of time, the government did not have the wherewithal or the mechanism through which the government could trace what your transactions are, or the government could basically, catch hold of SSEs who are non-compliant. But today, times have changed, and times have changed significantly. So the point that I'm trying to make across over here is that we need to understand that we are living in times where compliance is very much necessary, and accurate compliance at that is very much necessary. As I go through my presentation, I will be guiding you and I will be telling you more and more about this as to why it is important that you make sure that your income tax returns are filed appropriately and are filed accurately, because if that is not done, then it can have quite serious consequences. And I'll give you various examples that I have come across in my practice, that there are several examples have been reported in the media also, where people have borne very heavy consequences for mistakes that they have made, not just in filing their income tax returns, but also in other aspects of compliance. Now, before I go across over, one thing that I'd like mention out here is that a journal that will, I think, everyone. Okay, so the general particular thing that you need to be careful about is that when I come across various clients who have claimed deductions incorrectly, or who have claimed exemptions in a not so proper manner, and when I speak to them, तो उनका जवाब होता है, सर ये सब करते हैं, हम अकेले थोड़ी हैं, सब लोग ये चीज कर रहे हैं. You see, you have to understand one thing. Income tax is a declaration based law. It is a declaration based law, meaning what? That the government is relying on you. You declare, the government will rely on what your declaration is. So when you file a return, what exactly are you doing? You are declaring to the government that so much amount is my income, and as per the law, this is what my tax liability is. These are my deductions, these are my exemptions, this is my tax liability, and this is how I have paid my taxes. And that is what you are simply reporting to the government. Correct? Now, ideally tell me, doesn't the government already have this information through various other sources? Why does it need you to file a return of income? The most important aspect which people don't understand is that why the government asks us to file a return of income. What is the need? The simple answer is that if I have to tell you that you have lied to me, you have to first tell me something. If you don't tell me only, then where is the question of, basically me telling you कि आपने झूठ बोला. बहुत सिंपल कॉन्सेप्ट मैं बोल रहा हूं कि अगर मुझे ये बोलना है कि आपने झूठ बोला, तो ये करने के लिए आपका कुछ बोलना जरूरी है. So it is precisely for this reason why the government basically asks you to file a return. So when you file a return, you are making a statement. It's like an affidavit in court. आप return जहां पे sign करते हो towards the end. Nowadays there is no physical signature, I know, but just look at the end, the verification part. I dash son stroke daughter of so and so hereby declare that the statement and present to the best of my knowledge are true and accurate. Correct. So it is a affidavit. It's like a declaration that you are making. Now, what is the legal implication of this declaration? The legal implication is that you have to stand by what you said, what you have declared in the return. You have to be able to prove it tomorrow if a scrutiny comes. And if you don't do that, then basically you are liable for penalty, you are liable for prosecution, and all the consequences will follow. Now, again, you have to remember that currently the rate of cases that are taken up for scrutiny is roughly about 2%. The number of people filing their income tax returns are about 8 crores. Now, out of this 8 crores people who are filing their income tax returns, roughly about 2% returns are taken for scrutiny today. That is coming to about 16 lakh returns annually. Correct? Now, the Comptroller and Auditor General of India has already made a recommendation to the Income Tax Department that this percentage of 2% should increase to 4%. Okay. Now, earlier it was very difficult for the department to do all these particular scrutinies. Why? Because they did not have the manpower. Simply, they did not have the manpower. But now what has happened is with the extensive use of technology, the department has got mass data processing capabilities. And as we progress further, I will also tell you that the notices that come today are not coming. I mean, there is no human being sitting over there and deciding that, chalo, iska case scrutiny mein nikalo. That's not how it is happening. If any of you have ever got a notice, then you will see that on the notice it is written that this notice has been sent to you by CAS, C-A-S-S, CAS. Now, what does that mean? It basically means computer assisted scrutiny selection. Meaning what? That basically they have algorithms, they have programs which they have fit in, and when those certain parameters in those programs are triggered, automatically a notice will be sent to you. In fact, when a notice is sent to you, the notice is also sent to the assessing officer that you have to take up this particular SSC is coming under your jurisdiction. You have to take up that particular SSC's case and you have to scrutinize their income tax return. Right? And every evidence, every financial transaction, please be rest assured, the department's information gathering capacity today is such, आप कौन से होटल में खाना खा रहे हो और कितने का खाना खाया, ये भी इंफॉर्मेशन उनके पास है. So, present day times are not the times when basically, you indulge in tools and tips and tricks of evading taxes. Right now is the time to be absolutely compliant because a small mistake can cost you dearly, right? So friends, I believe now majority of the participants have joined in and a few who will be joining in can keep tagging along, right? So for the benefit of those who have just joined in, very quickly, my short introduction. My name is CA Vivek Doshi. I've been into practice since the year 2005. So almost 20 plus years of post-qualification experience, 5 years of pre-qualification experience. And since 25 years, I am into the practice of direct taxes. I specialize into domestic and international taxation. And I'm today here on behalf of my company, KnowTaxx Consultants Pvt Limited, right? And this particular seminar is on understanding how to file your income tax returns and what are the aspects to take care of while filing your income tax return. Coming again to the topic that I was talking about, that you have to be really, really careful, especially because the usual perception of people all across is that, this is something that everybody does. Like, I'll give you the most classic example that people do is that, many salaried employees claim false exemption for HRA. What do I mean by false exemption? Well, they are living at their home of their parents and they basically just show the rent receipt that they have paid it to their parent. There is no rent agreement backing. There is no actual money flowing to the rent. And in their HR, the HR will tell, please show us the send rent receipt. You will show the rent receipt. Some HRs are slightly more strict. They will ask for agreement. आप 500 रुपए का स्टैम्प पेपर पे एग्रीमेंट बना के दे देते हो एंड आपका जो कंपनी है वो एग्जेम्पशन ग्रांट कर देता है. नाउ दिस इज हाउ इट वाज वर्किंग अर्लियर. ओके, एंड देयर वाज नो वे टू क्रॉस वेरीफाई दिस. But now what has started happening? Now when you are filing your return, if you are claiming HRA, you have to give the name of your landlord. You have to give the PAN number of your landlord. You have to declare how much rent you are paying over there. Correct. Now this information that you provide in your income tax return will be matched with the landlord's income tax return. Now, if the landlord's income tax return is not showing this particular information, then a notice will go to your landlord also, the notice will go to you also. Because then you will be asked to prove that, okay, now please show me that you are telling that you have paid so much amount of rent. Please show me your bank statement. Please show me the agreement. And they will at that time want the registered agreement. And they will tell that, okay, please show me in the bank statement where it has been paid. Show me the rent that is being paid. So if your transaction is not done properly, then in that case, the consequence is that you will have to, the exemption will be disallowed, but it will not end there. उस पर टैक्स भर के जान नहीं छूटेगा. उसके बाद they will initiate penalty proceedings. And penalty proceedings are 100 to 300% of tax sought to be evaded. So you can imagine the kind and the quantum of damage that can happen, in case of exemptions, etc., which are not complied with properly. The point I'm trying to make across over here is, friends, that please, don't get swayed by people who are telling, "Arey, we do this regularly, we do this ongoing basis, and nobody comes to know," and all of that. Because income tax is such a law, you will not get an income tax notice every other year. I know of people who have not got an income tax notice for 20 years. They have been filing their return for 20 years and they have not got an income tax notice for 20 years. But once when they get, and when all these transactions start coming out, they can straight away open your case up to 8 years behind. In some cases, even beyond 8 years. But in majority of the cases can open up for 8 years. The litigation will last for years altogether. The amount of money that you will spend behind professionals like chartered accountants, lawyers, etc., and the amount of tax, penalty, interest you will have to pay. And nowadays, the department has got so strict, they are so strict on enforcement that they are even initiating prosecution proceedings. So by prosecution proceedings, I mean that they are hardcore criminal proceedings which happen in a court. You are issued summons, right? So this is the particular aspect, and this is the reason why I thought of conducting this particular seminar, where I can guide with my experience as to what you should be doing in order to take care of your filing of your income tax returns. What are the aspects that you should be really mindful about? What are the special checkpoints that you should be looking at when you are filing your income tax returns, so that you can ensure that you are not filing returns which are inaccurate. You can avoid notices, you can avoid penalties. While the department has brought in a lot of technology and a lot of things have become much more easier than the good old days, when we used to do the manual filing, stand outside the queue of, Churney Road and other income tax offices, where basically people would be, there would be huge queues in the month of July to file the manual income tax return. Now, those days have changed, but along with that, many other things have also changed. And that is why we need to be mindful of that. Correct? Now, I will also say that I am personally not in favor of people filing their income tax returns on their own and self-filing, etc., which is highly promoted. We also have now some particular company which is offering to file income tax return at 24 rupees. You can go and file your income tax return. Now, understand that, many of you might be thinking, this is hitting your business. That is why you're talking. On the contrary, you filing your return on your own is good for my business. And I'll tell you why it is good for my business. You see, for a return, how much do we charge? Maybe 2,000-3,000 bucks is what we are going to charge. Some complicated return, maybe 5,000-10,000, but it does not really go much beyond that. But if you get a notice, the proceedings last for almost a year. Once you get a notice till the final order is passed, it almost takes about a year's time for the entire process to get completed. There are so many responses. And you have to understand one thing, like the HRA example that I gave you. Let's say the department gets that information and they send you a notice for HRA. Okay. Now, on that basis or on the ground of that false HRA claim, they sent you a notice. But once your case is opened, their questions are not restricted to only HRA. They can ask you a question of any aspect of your income. You will be asked to submit your bank statements, the list of all your assets, all investments, everything they will ask, including your family tree and their assets and their income details. And you will be required to provide that. Right? So once a case is opened, it is a Pandora's box. They can ask any question. They have the entire jurisdiction. Correct? So I stand to make much more money when your case comes up for scrutiny rather than basically, you coming to me for filing your income tax return. So it is not that, friends. But you have to understand that things which require professional attention. And as you sit through the webinar and you understand the nuances that we are talking about as to the things that need to be verified, you will realize that this is a task which is a professional task. And like any other service, okay, like tomorrow, can you say that, you can do a surgery on your own? From a medical, what a medical doctor has learned, you can do it on your own? No, obviously not, because it is a specialized skill. In the same way, this is a specialized skill. Our government likes to think that, they have simplified. They have now come out with the new income tax bill, which according to them, they have reduced the number of sections and they have reduced the confusion and stuff like that. Trust me, very soon I will be coming up with a webinar on that. All right. Instead of simplifying, they have complicated it even more. Because earlier everything was in a section, now they have put everything in schedules. It's the same old wine packaged in a new bottle, which is typically what government of India does in most of the things. So whenever they say simplification, the general assumption is, or the general output is that it is more of complication and less of simplification. So anyways, let's basically proceed further. So as we proceed further, I would just like to lay down certain house rules. So I will be taking you through various aspects of income tax return filing. We will also be talking about the old regime and the new regime. I will also be giving you certain tips where you can save your taxes and stuff like that. And some of this might get a little bit technical. So at any point in time, I would want you all to basically ask me questions. If you feel that, there is something that you don't understand, immediately you can put up in the chat or you can raise your hand. Those symbols are pretty much there on your screen, so you can really do those particular aspects. All right. So for that particular thing, please make sure that you immediately ask questions that you may have. You can put them up in the chat and I'll be more than happy to respond to all your queries, right? Besides that, towards the end, we will have a Q&A session. So you can ask your questions over there also. Now, what am I going to do in today's webinar? In today's webinar, I am going to tell you, number one, which ITR form is appropriate for you, considering your income. Because depending on your sources of income, depending on what income you have, your ITR form, you have to choose the right form. It begins from there. And the choosing the right form itself has become complicated for many people. So first aspect is we have to know which form. Okay, then depending on which form it is, you will have to know that what information has to be provided in that form. And while you are providing what information, what other processes you must do to make sure that the information that you are providing is accurate. Now, why is this important? This is important because basically you will get this as a tool where you are filing your return. You file your return through us or through anybody, but go through this particular list. And at the end of the webinar, we will also be sharing a detailed checklist with you, which will be an ebook that we'll be sharing with you. So that ebook will work as a guide for you, that when you actually are looking at that particular ebook, and where there we have given checklist form wise, that if you're ITR 1, this is the form. If ITR 2, this is the form. If ITR 3, this is the form. And this is the checklist. So just make sure that whoever has filed your return has gone through that particular checklist and you yourself have gone through that particular checklist. So then you are assured that the information that you are filing is accurate. All right. Even if you are filing your return on your own, this checklist will serve as a very good, useful tool for you all to be able to go and ensure that the compliance that you are doing is 100% accurate, right? So basically, I want this particular session to be more and more interactive. So as I start my technical presentation, I want all of you all to, very quickly on the chat box, just quickly type ready, so that I know that all of you are ready for the detailed technical presentation on the webinar for understanding filing of income tax returns. So we'll request everybody to just type in ready in the chat box. Come on, guys, show some enthusiasm because there is a lot of things that you are going to learn. There is a lot of things that you're going to be understanding in this particular seminar, and you will be learning many, many important things. Right. Thank you. Thank you for your participation, guys. Thank you, and keep participating in the same particular way so that we can get we can make most out of this particular webinar. Another thing as I start out is that this particular year we are going to conduct this particular webinar on every Sunday till the 7th of September. Okay, so the next webinar will be next Sunday, same time. One will be after that, and the last one will be on the 7th of September because the due date for filing income tax returns is 15th September. So I am conducting this back to back, the same particular session back to back. So if you have friends and family, you can ask them to join the next particular webinar, and they also can benefit the maximum from it, right? So let's start with the presentation proper. Okay, is everybody able to see my screen? Just type yes in the chat box. Okay, great. So now basically we will move on to the particular presentation. All right. So comprehensive guide to income tax return filing, where you will have everything you need to know for accurate filing in India. Okay. Now what's the agenda today? So first we're going to be talking about a common checklist. Okay. Now this checklist is primarily essential for any income tax return that you're filing. This is irrespective of the form that you're going to be filing. All right. The second thing that you're going to be doing is the choosing the right form. As I told you, choosing the right form itself is a challenge. So you will be dealing, or I'll be guiding you as to which form is applicable to you. Correct? Then we will be moving on form specific guidance. This is going to be very detailed, but I'll be running through it, highlighting the main points which you are going to be considering over here. And after that, basically, the detailed checklist that I will be giving you as an ebook will serve a lot of the purpose for you. Okay. Then the fourth point will be the common errors that you can avoid while filing your income tax returns. Now, this is very, very important because these are the general common errors that we find most SSEs make when they file their income tax returns. So we've tried to cover the most, but in case if you have any other specific queries or any other doubts, please feel free to ask. All right. Then there is something called as cross-checking your information. Now, I'll come to that in a bit with regards to cross-checking of your information, because now what happens is a lot of data is being independently reported to the government. Now, when you file your return, you have to make sure that your data matches that data. And if there is a mismatch, you have a reconciliation of that ready. Because if that does not happen, then chances are that that mismatch will trigger a scrutiny. All right. And yes, towards then we'll be talking about the tax regime comparison, where we understand the old regime and the new regime. Right. So first we talk about who is required to file their return of income. Now, the answer to this particular question is as to who is to required to file your income tax return primarily is based on income levels. All right. So if your income is 2.5 lakhs or more, all right, and if you're below 60 years of age, then as per law, as per section 139(1) of the Income Tax Act, you are required to file your income tax return, even if there is no tax payable. All right. Just confirming, guys, you guys are able to see my slide, right? Are you able to see the presentation? Great. Okay. So for SSEs who are below 60 years of age, 2.5 lakhs is the threshold limit. Now, please understand this is a threshold limit of income, not of tax. You may have zero tax to be paid. That is perfectly all right. But this is the condition or the requirement for filing your return of income. Okay. You may have zero tax to be paid, but if you are earning more than 2.5 lakhs a year and you are below 60 years, you are required to file your return of income. If you are between 60 to 80, okay, यानी कि senior citizen हो गए 60 years plus हो गए but less than 80 years, then 3 lakhs is the threshold limit. And if you are above 80 years, that is super senior citizens, then the gross total income has to be 5 lakhs. So once you cross these threshold limits, you are required to file your income tax return. Now, supposing you don't meet the criteria for filing your income tax return, let's assume that your income levels are lesser than these threshold limits. But if you have any of these particular transactions, for example, if you have assets abroad, now how can you have assets abroad? If let's say if you are working in a multinational company and they are giving you ESOP of the parent company, okay, in that case, when they are giving you the ESOP of the parent company, in that case, foreign assets that you are holding over there, all right, mandates you to file your return of income irrespective of your income. So what I'm showing here in this slide is basically an exception to the earlier slide, meaning irrespective of the level of your income, if you have entered into these transactions or if you fit in any of these attributes, then you are required to file your return of income even if it is below the threshold limits that we just discussed. I hope that is clear to everybody. Yes. So again, I'll just repeat this. If basically you have entered into any of these particular transactions, or if you have any of these assets which are mentioned here, then in that case, you are required to file your return irrespective of the level of income that you have. Correct? So if you are having foreign assets, one example of foreign assets I gave you is if you get ESOPs. Nowadays, you can directly invest in stock markets abroad. There are various, just like we have brokers over here, there are various brokers, in India who allow you to invest in, let's say, the US stock markets. Or if you are investing in, let's say, cryptocurrency and stuff like that. And these assets are abroad. So if you are doing that, then in that case, those are foreign assets. You will be required to file your return of income in India, irrespective of what your income you have earned in India, irrespective of that. High value transactions. If you have deposits more than 1 crore in a bank account, you have to file your return of income irrespective of your income. Okay. Significant expenditure. If you have incurred more than 2 lakhs on foreign travel or more than 1 lakh rupees in electricity bills. Okay. If you are having any of these, it's or, not and. Okay, so if you have gone abroad and you've spent more than 2 lakh rupees. Okay, now mind you, this is very important because when you go abroad now, there is, I'm sure you guys are aware that there is something called as TCS, tax collected at source. So your travel agent, when he remits money outside, he has to collect tax from you and pay it to the government and file a TDS return, where he has to declare that, okay, this is the TCS that is collected from you and paid on your behalf. So the government comes to know that you have incurred travel expenditure more than 2 lakhs. So if you have incurred more than 2 lakhs of travel expenditure, irrespective of your income, you are required to file your return of income. Okay. If your annual electricity bill is more than 1 lakh rupees, irrespective of your income, you are required to file your return of income. Okay. If you have TDS, TCS greater than 25,000, it is 50,000 for senior citizens, that is 60 plus, but less than 60, it is 25,000. Then भले ही आपका income नहीं लो, you should file. And in fact, you should file your return because if there is no tax payable, file your return and take this money as refund. Why will you not file your return? So that is but obvious that you should file your return. And if your business turnover exceeds 60 lakhs or professional receipts exceed rupees 10 lakhs, you are mandatorily required to file your return of income. Now, it is turnover that we are talking about. We are not talking about profit. Correct? So if your turnover exceeds 60 lakhs or if your professional receipts exceed 10 lakhs, you are required to file your return of income irrespective of what your actual income is. You may be suffering losses, but return file karna padega, right? So I hope this particular aspect is clear. So please, everybody just type clear in the chat box. So I am aware that you have understood who is required to file your return so that we can move to the next part. Excellent. Great. Okay, so now basically you are you understood who is required to file your return of income, correct? That part I hope is clear to everybody. All right. Now we will proceed further and we will try and understand that what are the basically checklist or what are the pointers which you must take care irrespective of the return of income that you are filing. Correct. Now some of this data might look a little overwhelming to you. but don't worry, we will simplify it for you. And in the ebook that we provide to you, it will have a lot of information in much greater detail. So you will understand that it is easier to decipher from there. So don't get a little bit hazard when you see a lot of data on the screen, right? Okay, so if you have salary income, all right, then basically you have to you have to verify it from your Form 16 and from your Form 12BA. Now, before I go into the technicalities of each of these, okay, let me first tell you that in the entire return filing process, there are three procedures that you are required to carry out in different situations. All right, for every information that you are providing in the income tax return that you are filing. What are these three processes? First is a verification process. Okay. What does verification mean? Means that you have to verify the figure that you are putting in the income tax return with a document that supports it. Why? Because tomorrow when a scrutiny comes up, your income tax officer is going to ask you, okay, you have put in this number over here. Can you show me some document or some evidence which will basically confirm that, okay, this is what is required. Okay, that this is what is required for, proving that the figure that you have provided is accurate. So the first part is verification. Okay, where you have to be able to substantiate what you have filed in your income tax return along with the information that you are providing with documentary evidence, whatever available. So in different situations, I will tell you what is the best documentary evidence that you can keep so as to verify whatever claims you are making in your income tax return. So for example, for salary income, the most important document is your Form 16 and your Form 12BA, which you get from your employer. Correct? That is the document on the basis of which you put in your salary numbers in your income tax return. Correct? Second process that we are talking about is cross verification. Okay. Now, what is cross verification? Basically, nowadays, the government, besides asking assessees to file their income tax return, is collecting a lot of data from various other institutions and organizations independently. And using that particular data, the government is processing that data and churning out certain statements of its own. All right. For example, your TDS statement is called Form 26AS. So when your employer deducts your TDS, okay, so he will basically, let's say your salary is 2 lakh rupees a month. He deducts 20,000 as TDS and pays you 1,80,000. So this 20,000 he is required to pay to the government on your behalf against your PAN number. And every quarter he is required to file a TDS return. Now, in that TDS return, that employer is required to declare that he has paid you so much salary, and as per that salary, so much tax was deductible, and that tax has been deducted from your salary, and it has been paid to the government, and the chalana, etc. All those details he is required to provide in the TDS return. Now, when the employer files that TDS return, the backend software of the income tax department processes that, and after they process that, the next step that they do is that basically they generate this statement which is called Form 26AS. So like this, all those people who have deducted your TDS, okay, their information is compiled, and one comprehensive document is created, which is Form 26AS. So Form 26AS is nothing but a compilation of all incomes that you have earned on which TDS has been deducted by various deductors. Correct? So various deductors. So this is your employer filing the return for your employment, and he will file a return, and basis that it will get processed and it will show against your PAN. Similarly, you might have bank FD, and on that bank FD you are earning interest, and the bank might be deducting your TDS. So the bank will also do the same thing. It will say that, okay, so much interest we have paid you, so against so and so PAN number, and so much is the tax deductible, and so much is the tax that we have paid. Now, what the 26 says, what the department software will do, it will take data from your salary. It will take data from any other places such as your bank. All right. Compile that and prepare one comprehensive statement, one comprehensive document. The name of that document is Form 26AS. Okay. So in the process of cross verification, what you are required to do, wherever possible, whatever figure that you are putting in your income tax return, if there is that particular record is available anywhere in any of the government documents that are created, and I'll tell you about the other documents which are available, then in that case, you cross-verify this information with the information that is available in the government document. Okay? And if that matches, jingalala, no problem at all. Correct? Because even if the case comes up in scrutiny, the officer is going to match that only. He is also not going to do anything else. And chances are that if there is a match, the return will get processed quickly. You will get your refund or whatever very quickly. And there will be no case of a notice coming to you. Why? Because basically the data has matched. So in that case, you are not going to have a challenge with regards to it. Challenge कभी आएगा जब भी mismatch होगा. करेक्ट है एंड उसमें वो सिचुएशन में भी क्या करना वो भी मैं आपको गाइड करूंगा कि व्हाट आर द थिंग्स व्हाट आर द ऑप्शंस दैट आर अवेलेबल टू यू in that particular situation, and you can look at that as to what options are available in that particular scenario. Correct? So that is another thing which is available to you as an option. Okay. The other aspect that you've got to remember with regards to is the third process that we're going to talk about, and that process is reconciliation. Okay. The third aspect is reconciliation. Now, what do I mean by that? Okay. If the figure that you are reporting in the return and what is there in the third party government document is not matching, and there are several reasons why they may not match. Okay. If it is not matching, then you must prepare a reconciliation, because tomorrow if you receive a notice, you have to be ready with your answer. You have to be ready with your answer as to how you are going to explain this difference, because that is extremely critical for you to explain. Once you understand that, rest of the things are very, very easy. Clear? Okay. Now, what are the chances where these figures could be different? Now, take the example of bank interest itself. So, bank interest, banks deduct TDS on accrual basis. Meaning what? That the money, the interest that you have earned on your FD may not have credited to your bank account. Okay. You may not have earned that, you may not have received that money in your bank account, but it has accrued to you. Correct? It has accrued to you. It is there in your name, but so far, as per the FD that you have taken, all right, if the interest payout is, once in 3 years or so, then in that case, at the end of the financial year, the bank will make a provision. Okay, so much interest we have to pay Vivek Doshi against this PAN. The bank will create a provision. But if you look at my bank statement, you will not see that interest in my bank statement. Why? Because I have not received it. But I am due to receive it. When I am due to receive it, as per the FD that I have taken, I have said that, okay, I don't need interest every month or every 6 months or every quarter. I can take the interest after 3 years together. I want a lump sum amount. So at the end of 3 years, the total interest amount for 3 years, I can get at the end of my 3rd year when the FD is maturing. Okay. That is an option that I can exercise. Alternatively, I can say that, no, give me interest every quarterly or give me interest every half yearly. So these are all various options which are available. Correct? But what exactly am I going to be doing out over here? I, as an SSE, income tax gives me a choice. You can offer your income on receipt basis, that is when it hits your bank account, or on accrual basis. Okay. So accrual basis means just like the bank calculates that, okay, this year so much interest is payable to him, although we have not paid to him, but it is payable. So they will account for it, they will create a provision and they will keep it in their books of accounts. So I have the option to offer my income on taxation either on accrual basis or on receipt basis, whichever is my choice. Okay. Now, supposing I have taken receipt basis. Okay. Supposing I choose receipt basis, then what happens? Then what happens is that basically the 26AS form will show that, okay, so much interest has accrued to Mr. Vivek Doshi. Let's say the interest accrued is 1 lakh. But in the current year, the only interest that I have received is, let's say, 30,000. So they will say that, okay, 1 lakh has accrued, but 30,000 has been received. The TDS will be deducted on 1 lakh. TDS will be deducted on 1 lakh. So in that case, if I am offering my income on receipt basis, I will show income, interest income as 30,000 only. Okay. And that balance 70,000, I will not show this year. Why? My choice. The law gives me a choice, very clear choice that, okay, you can choose how much you want to, whether you want to follow on accrual basis or on receipt basis. Then in the future year, when I receive that 1 lakh rupees, I will offer that 1 lakh for taxation. But currently I have received only 30,000. So on receipt basis, I will offer only 30,000 for taxation. So obviously what is going to happen? 26A shows 1 lakh. You are declaring 30,000. There is a difference of 70,000. Is that difference wrong? No, it is not wrong. It is correct. I can claim it as per law. The government allows me. Okay, but then I have to prepare a reconciliation and keep, because tomorrow the officer will ask me, your 26AS is showing 1 lakh. You are claiming 30,000. So then where is the difference? So you can say, okay, this is what I am doing. I am following receipt basis of accounting, and that is the reason why basically this difference is there. Correct? So that explanation you have to have ready. Second important part that you have to remember here is that if you are offering only 30,000 as interest, then take credit of TDS also to the extent of 30,000 only. So whatever tax has been deducted on that, let's say the rate of TDS on interest is 10%. Okay. So on 1 lakh, the TDS that would have been deducted would be 10,000. So if you check your 26AS, it will show TDS of 10,000. But should you claim credit of 10,000? No, you should not claim credit of 10,000. Why? Because you are offering income of only of 30,000, not of entire 1 lakh. So if you are offering income only of 30,000 and not of 1 lakh, then in that case, you are required to declare your TDS to the extent of 30,000 only, 3,000 only, not entire 1 lakh. This is a common mistake that many people make. Are we clear? 26AS में 10,000 TDS दिखा, वो TDS का क्रेडिट पूरा ले लिया, बट आपने इनकम पूरा लिया है क्या? You have not taken a income, you have not taken income of this. So अगर आपने इनकम पूरा नहीं लिया है तो obviously आपको TDS भी पूरा नहीं मिलेगा. Are you understanding this particular point? Correct? So that is another aspect, but that is where the third process of reconciliation comes in. So very quickly, I'll sum up. What are the three processes that you will carry out? One is verification. Verification means anything that you put in your ITR, okay, you have to have a particular, what do you say? You have to have a particular basis for that. Okay. Third party documentary evidence you should have for that. If you have that, then in that case, yes, perfectly well, you will basically get the information or your claim will be valid. So the first thing that you have to always remember is verification. Okay, base document on the basis of which you are claiming whatever you are claiming in your income tax return. Second process is cross verification. This is basically verifying the numbers that you are declaring with any of the government records which are available. Okay. And third process is reconciliation. Whenever there is a difference between the information that you are providing and the information that the government already has, then the difference has to be reconciled. And you have to be ready with that reconciliation. So that is the third process that you have to be aware of. So I hope this particular three processes are clear. So then we can very quickly run through that particular table, right? So just type clear if you are clear about this particular three processes. And if you have any doubts in this, please feel free to ask. Quickly, guys. Great. So now let's quickly run through this particular table where we can look at what are the various options that we have in terms of verification and other aspects. Clear? So salary income form 16 and form 12BA. Now many people have this misconception that the form 16 that you get, is something that your employer prints it and gives it to you. Now, of course, he does print it, but unlike the good old days, form 16 is no longer prepared by your employer. Your employer files the TDS returns. Those TDS returns are processed by the income tax department. And after the income tax department processes those TDS returns, the form 16 is generated through the income tax website. All that your employer has to do is download that form 16 and then send it across to you. It is not something that your employer prepares in his own software or in his own office. It used to be that way earlier. But after the digitization of income tax website and everything, that process has been discontinued. So no employer can ever, on their own letterhead, can ever issue a form 16. Please remember that. I still see employers doing that, employees showing that as their income. No, that is not valid. Okay. आप अगर आपका फॉर्म 16 अभी देखोगे तो वो बेसिकली इनकम टैक्स वेबसाइट से लिया हुआ, उसमें इनकम टैक्स का लोगो होता है, इनकम टैक्स का सिंबल, उसका वाटरमार्क होता है. करेक्ट है? That is the valid form 16, which is from the Traces website and which is generated by the software of the income tax department. No company, no private company can actually issue your form 16 any longer. So form 16 and 12BA are documents which are issued through the income tax website, but it comes through your employer. Okay. You cross-verify this with 26AS. Now, ideally, because this form 16 also is coming from the income tax software only, there should be no difference between form 16 and 26AS. If there is a difference between these two, then in that case, that's a big problem. Are we clear? You will have to speak to your employer and find out why this difference is coming in. All right, because that is very, very critical. Okay. And when you file your return, you have to make sure that your 26 AS and your Form 16 are matching. And if there's a mismatch, you will have to have a reconciliation which is prepared for it. So that is very, very critical. Okay. Next is income from house property. Income from house property, basically, if you are a landlord and if the rent that you are receiving is more than 50,000, then please bear in mind that your tenant has to deduct your TDS. Are we clear? Your tenant has to deduct your TDS. Now, if your tenant is not deducting your TDS, then in that case, yes, I do agree it's a tenant's obligation, but it is advisable to go and tell your tenant to deduct the TDS and follow the normal process. Otherwise, processing of your return can get stuck because of that. Because you have to understand they have computerized everything. So if you are following the process, things happen fast, things happen smooth, things happen without any hassle. ऑटोमेटिकली सब कट 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 हो जाएगा एंड पूरा प्रोसेसिंग होकर निकल के आ जाएगा. अभी 50,000 से ज्यादा रेंट यू आर रिसीविंग बट योर टेनेंट इज नॉट डिडक्टिंग टीडीएस. यू आर टेलिंग अरे गुड इट इज नॉट डिडक्टिंग टीडीएस, आई गेट माय एंटायर मनी. अरे बट एंड ऑफ द डे वॉट एवर टैक्स यू हैव टू पे, यू विल हैव टू पे. If he deducts the TDS and files the return properly, you will get the credit automatically and your return will get processed quick. So always remember that, you must, if you are a landlord, then don't discourage your tenants from not deducting. In fact, encourage them to deduct the TDS properly. Okay, so that is the first part that you have to remember. That if you are, now please understand, if you are holding a joint property, okay, like you and your wife, if two of you are holding the joint property, then when you make the rent agreement, take the amount in two different names and keep the amount less than 50,000. In that case, you can avoid TDS and the income also will be split into in two returns, in two SSCs. Okay. But if it is one SSC only and if the rent is more than 50,000, then TDS has to be deducted. Are we clear? And this also has to be reconciled with your 26 AS. Correct. So this is an important aspect that you've got to bear in mind. Correct. Now there is another document that is generated by the Income Tax Department, which is the Annual Information Statement. Now, what is an Annual Information Statement? Basically, various organizations and institutions are required to file an annual return known as the Annual Information Return. 31st May ko they are required to file this. And in fact, this Annual Information Statement is the reason why this year your income tax due date was extended. Okay. Because this is the main information network of the Income Tax Department. Now, who is required to file this Annual Information Return? Banks, credit card companies, registrar of properties, mutual funds, the stock exchange, basically all major places where you are having major financial transactions now, they are required to report in Annual Information Return. Are we clear? Okay. Now, what are they required to report? So let's say you deposit cash above a certain threshold limit. Then your banks are going to basically report that in the Annual Information Statement to the government that this person with this PAN number has deposited so much cash or has withdrawn so much cash. Okay. Similarly, if your credit card expenses exceed beyond a certain limit, then again that particular information will be shared by the credit card company to the Income Tax Department. If you buy a property or if you sell a property, you register the property, the registrar of properties will report that transaction to the Income Tax Department in the Annual Information Return, so on and so forth. So these informations are basically provided by different organizations to the Income Tax Department, and in that they will include your PAN number or your Aadhaar number. And remember, now PAN and Aadhaar are linked. If your PAN and Aadhaar are not linked, you will not be able to file your return. Correct? So basically what has happened is that through various organizations filing their annual information return, the department gets to know the financial transactions that you have entered into during the year. Okay, they have all this particular information with them. So when you buy a property, okay, you go to register the property, they'll ask for your PAN card, you will submit your PAN card, your PAN number is given out there or your Aadhaar number is given out there. Basis that they will file their annual information return, and once they file the annual information return, that is reported to the government. That transaction will now reflect in your AIS. Okay, that transaction will now reflect in your Annual Information Statement. You have to make sure that your income tax return covers everything that is mentioned in your AIS. If your income tax return does not cover everything that is mentioned in your AIS, then in that case, there will be trouble. You will basically be missing out on certain critical information which is necessary for you to report in your income tax return. Okay, so please bear that in mind that you are required to make sure that you report this particular transaction, everything. Go through your AIS very carefully. Now, another important aspect, there are many errors which are there in the AIS. Okay, there are many errors in the AIS. In many cases, there is double reporting happening. In many cases, there are mismatches that is happening. So I am not saying that AIS is 100% accurate. No, but it is a record which the government has. And when you are filing your return, all right, at that point in time, you have to make sure that this record matches. And if it does not match, then what you're supposed to do is prepare a reconciliation. You go by what transaction you have incurred. Like in one of my clients' case, what had happened is he is entered, he had sold mutual funds worth 20 lakhs. But somehow in the AIS, it was reporting 40 lakhs. Exact double हो गया था reporting. करेक्ट है, तो वो शायद रिपोर्ट करने के टाइम पे म्यूचुअल फंड ने गलती किया था, एंड एज अ रिजल्ट ऑफ दैट बेसिकली वो अमाउंट जो है वो एग्जैक्ट डबल हो गया था. As a consequence of that, basically what we did is we filed the income tax return declaring 20 lakhs because we have the documentation for 20 lakhs, correct? But this 40 lakhs which was there, okay, for this 40 lakhs, what we did is that we went and reported the AIS. There is a mechanism where you can go to your income tax login and report discrepancies in your AIS statement. We went and reported that there is a discrepancy here. Correct? So make sure that you do this. Okay, you do this and you should do it immediately. When you file your return, you've made a claim of 20 lakhs out there and simultaneously you make a correction in the AIS. You make you report a discrepancy in the AIS because tomorrow if the case comes up for scrutiny, you can always tell that, look, 20 lakhs is what I have done. You can show the mutual fund statement and the capital gain statement from your mutual fund provider and say, this is the evidence you can verify from this. Now, why is the AIS showing this? Please go and ask your people who have filed the mutual fund return. And I have declared it. I have done my duty by declaring it over there also as a discrepancy. So this is an important step that you have to remember, that when you do your AIS, at that point in time, you make sure that if there is a discrepancy in the AIS, then you report that particular discrepancy along with your income tax return when you are filing your income tax return. Now, जो लोग 24 रुपए में income tax return फाइल करने वाले हैं, वो ये करने वाले हैं आपके लिए. You have to remember this. This is why I was telling that you have to be very careful with the kind of compliance. This is the level of cross verification that is happening. Now, the most important part is, when you file your return, your returns data is picked up and there are AI softwares that the department is running around. That data is matched with the AIS data, TIS data, 26 days data, other critical data that the department gathers from all across. And that data is then, when there is mismatch over there, automatically notice is triggered and automatically income tax proceedings start off. Correct. This is happening a lot these days. And once these proceedings take off, even the assessing officers are frustrated because there's nothing in their control. There is something called a CPC, Central Processing Center. Correct है. वहां पे बैठ के कोई बटन दबाता है और आपको नोटिस आ जाता है. करेक्ट. नोटिस आना नहीं आना आपके हाथ में पूरी तरह से नहीं है, एक्सेप्ट दैट यू मेक श्योर दैट यू फाइल योर रिटर्न वेरी वेल, डू ऑल द कंप्लायंसेस प्रॉपर्ली एंड कीप योरसेल्फ thoroughly prepared. But in a worst case scenario, if a notice does come, what you can do is primarily make sure that you are thoroughly prepared to respond to that notice. Majority of my cases, more than 90% of the cases that I have represented, zero tax liability. Why? Because basically when we file the return itself, at that point in time itself, we make sure that none of these particular things, are missed out. We have our documents and everything ready. So basically when the notice comes, yeah, the answer then. Then in that particular case, there's not much that the department or the officer can do. So although I have warned you of several aspects of, income tax proceedings, please let's be clear that as long as, we have all the documents and all the supportings and everything that there's nothing that they can do. They have to pass an order in our favor. So there's nothing to be scared of, but there is a lot to be organized about. There's a lot to be prepared about. So that is something that we must be mindful about. Clear? So next part that we bear in mind is with regards to your house property income. We've already discussed. Okay. Now, other than that, we look at second. Okay, the other thing that we look at is primarily capital gains. So capital gains, again, this is the area where maximum errors happen, correct? Whatever shares that you have sold, mutual funds that you have sold or purchased, everything is reported in the AIS, correct? Even the property that you sold, I already told you, that is also reported in the AIS. So make sure you have proper documentation for the same. Now, all your mutual fund brokers, all your share brokers, they have in their software. Many of these brokers also don't know, but they have in their software of something called as a capital gain statement. Okay. There is something called as a capital gain statement. You must always insist at the end of the financial year. After the month of May, you can ask them, because by that time they would have filed their AIR also. So after the month of May, you can ask them, please give me my capital gain statement for the last financial year. Are we clear? And make sure you have that statement on record. If in some cases, basically, you can also ask for the global transaction statement. So the global transaction statement basically has all the transactions that you have taken in that particular mutual fund in that year. Now, this mutual funds has also become a very big source of headache, because clients don't understand the nuances of mutual funds and the terminology that is used there. And as a result of that, they think that they have not sold anything. Like one of my clients, what happened is that they switched the fund, meaning what? They basically uh, uh, changed the fund in which the money was invested. So their investment advisor would have advised them that, okay, take the money out from this fund and let's put it in this fund. So in income or in mutual fund parlance, they call it switch. They don't call it redemption. And in the mind of the client, it is not a redemption because the money never comes to him in his bank account. So if I am a mutual fund house, let's say if I am Franklin Templeton, okay, and I am running two funds. One is a hardcore equity fund and one is a hybrid fund. Okay, now equity markets are dilly-dally. So your advisor tells you, okay, let's book profits in equity and let's buy hybrid. So he will, because both are managed by Franklin Templeton, the money does not have to move. It's just a switch. Okay. Now, as a result of that, what happens is that according to you, you have not sold anything. But as per the transactions that occur, you are selling one fund and then you are buying another fund. So when this switch happens, there will be capital gain implication, which even your mutual fund broker or your investment advisor does not know. So please bear that in mind, that there will be this particular implication. Okay, and if that implication is not there, then it's a little tricky. Are you getting it? Okay, ये part जो है, ये please ध्यान में रखिएगा कि ये आपको ध्यान में रख के follow करना है. Okay, so what is the implication out there? That basically when you are switching a fund also, okay, when you are switching a fund also, there will be tax implications. Switching a fund basically means selling one fund and buying another fund. So again, this data has to be matched with your AIS and TIS statements. And if there is a difference, you have to reconcile, correct? Income from other sources, bank interest, FD interest, these were the items which, in the good old days when I was doing my articleship and all that, when I started off with my practice, nobody used to bother about this. Correct? Because department, only if your case comes up for scrutiny would the department go and check and be scrutinizing all of this particular stuff. Practically nobody would look into this particular thing. But now everything is digitized, everything is computerized. So make sure that even 100 rupees of savings interest which is there, declare it. Are we clear? Make sure that that particular amount is declared. Dividends, etc. All of this information will be available in your AIS statement. Make sure everything that is reported in your AIS is declared in your ITR. Otherwise, it will trigger a notice. Yes, I am not telling that even if the transaction is not conducted by you, if you have not done the transaction, then also you report. No, I'm not saying that. All right. All I'm saying is that basically make sure that you cross verify. And if it is there in the AIS statement, but if you have missed out, then make sure you report it. But if there is an error in the AIS statement, then report the error or the discrepancy in the AIS with the income tax department. That is the procedure that you need to follow. Next is PGBP. Now, PGBP, there are several possibilities, so I won't be able to cover that in much detail. But primarily, what you've got to ensure is that if you are registered under GST, then the data that you have filed in your GST and the data that you show in your income tax should match, like your turnover. Okay, the turnover that you have shown in GST and the turnover that you show in income tax has to match. In many cases, there could be differences. All right. For example, if you are running a banquet hall, correct? So if you are running a banquet hall, you would have received advance. When you receive the advance, you are required to pay GST at that point of time itself. But it is not your revenue at that point in time. Okay, it is not your revenue at that point in time. Let's say I am receiving an advance. Let's say I am Geo World Convention Center. Now I have received an advance for an event which is going to be conducted in the April of next year. Now April of next year will come in the next financial year. It will be in the year 26-27. But when I received that particular advance for that event to be conducted in April, today it is my advance. It is not my revenue. it will be in my books in my liability. Okay. But basically I have to pay GST on that. So in the GST, it will be reported, but in your income tax, it will not be reported. So again, reconciliation comes into the picture. So these are some of the situations that I'm telling that you have to be careful about. You have to have the base documents with you. You have to be able to verify it with what is declared in the government portals. In this particular case, the portal is the GST portal, the information that you are providing over there. So there's something called as an annual return in GST. Okay, even if you are not required to file annual return, the GST software creates an annual return. So make sure that your sales, purchases, figures that you are putting in your income tax return are matching with what you are putting in your GST return. Because if that mismatch happens, then in that case, automatically it will trigger a notice. No questions asked. Are we clear? Okay, so just make sure. Again, if you are a professional, then whatever professional receipts that you are getting, there would be TDS that is deducted. So that TDS again has to be reported. If there is other kinds of TCS, etc., that is there, that has been collected, you will have to report that also. So those figures also again have to match. So 26 AS continues, AIS also continues. So the matching of those numbers will have to continue. And yes, if you are under tax audit, okay, I'm assuming that most of the people who are present here today are not people who come under tax audit, because usually they tend to have a chartered accountant who does all of this for them. So I'm not going into much detail over here in this particular case, but yeah, if that is the case, then whatever is filed in your tax audit report and what you file in your income tax return should match. Okay, it should match. If it does not matching, then in that case, again, it will trigger a notice. Are we clear? Because please understand, technically, that the tax audit report is filed by your chartered accountant. It is only accepted by you. Are we clear? So it is a third party record for all practical purposes. So your chartered accountant will file what do you call as your his tax audit report. From your login, you will accept it, but it is not a document that you have generated. So for technical purposes, it is a third party record. And as a result of that, your numbers have to be matching with that. Okay. Now, foreign income and assets, you are required to obviously declare. Okay. Also, your deductions. Now, in case of foreign income and assets, please remember that if you are having foreign income, then besides your income tax return, you are required to file Form 67 if you have claimed the benefit of DTAA. Okay, now many people are not aware, but there are several small transactions that could occur. For example, if you have invested in bonds outside India, okay, or if you have invested, either told you ESOP shares are there, then you might be receiving dividend. Or many times, you come back from abroad, but you leave your bank account open there, you leave some foreign currency over there, and there is some interest or there is some income that you earned from there. All that basically will be taxable in India once you become a resident in India. Resident SSE, global income is taxable. Now, to avoid double taxation, you can claim the benefit of DTAA. That is double taxation avoidance agreements. But to claim that benefit, you have to file Form 67. This is a separate filing, and this has to be filed before you file your income tax return. Okay. Because in your income tax return, you have to mention the date on which you filed your Form 67. So make sure that this is done properly and you have proper professionals doing this, because this comes under foreign tax division, and which is a much more stricter and a much more tighter department of the or rather sub department of the income tax, where the consequences can be quite serious. Senior level officers deal with this kind of stuff. All right. Next, we come to deductions, your ATC, ATD, ATG. In this year's return, if you are claiming these deductions, that means if you are in the old regime and you are claiming these deductions, there's a lot of information that you are required to provide. For example, LIC, you're required to provide the policy number, the name of the insurer, the amount of the premium, amount of GST on the premium and stuff like that. So there's a lot of information that you are required to provide. This they are doing to avoid false claims. Earlier, people were making claims left, right, and center. Now, please understand that, as I told you all earlier also, that these particular claims, they will cross-verify, and cross-verification has become very, very easy now with technology advancing in a very significant way. The implication of this is so significant that people this year have got massive amount of notices, especially for false political donations that they have made. So typically what people would do is that they would just, there are so many, there is a difference between a registered political party and a recognized political party. So under the Representation of People's Act, I and you also can come together and register a political party. But for recognition, there is certain criteria. For election commission to recognize us as a political party, there is certain criteria. Like we have to win a certain election or we have to get certain number of votes, and then only we get recognition. Now to claim the deduction over here, registration is good enough. So what many people do, they create dummy political parties. They take donations from salaried individuals. Usually they have brokers who help them, and they take donations from there in check in the white amount, and then they encash that amount through showing false expenses. Take the cash, they cut a commission, take the cash and give back the cash to these particular employees. And many people, in order to save some tax and make a quick buck, they do this kind of stuff. July 14th, 14 places have been raided. 14 places across India have been raided for false political donations. Many people have got SMS warnings that if you have claimed this deduction, untruly, then declare right now and file your updated return, or otherwise you may have to face the consequences. These kind of SMS notices, literally like a threat, has come to SSEs in the last month. And several places, what has happened is that the income tax raids have taken place. Okay. And trust me, they are now not just settling at collecting the tax and penalty, they are going after SSEs as initiating prosecution proceedings, right? So please do not play around with claiming any of these false deductions. Clear? And you have to make sure just showing the receipt is not good enough. You have to show the payment in your bank. So if you are claiming LIC receipt, for example, okay, now I can claim the LIC that I pay for myself or for my wife or for my daughter. Clear? So typically what people would do, company will ask for proof. What they will ask? They will ask proof first, LIC receipt. So the same LIC receipt is shown by 3 people. I will show it, my wife will show it, and my daughter will also show it. Correct? Now that is not going to work. Clear? Because when a case comes up for scrutiny, they will ask you to show your bank account and show that you made the payment from your account, and that is how you are claiming it. So these are the things that were happening earlier, but now basically like tuition fee receipt. सब लोग को क्या लगता है, मार्केट से रिसीट बुक लेके आओ, कुछ भी नाम का रिसीट छाप दो एंड देन क्लेम कर लो. You have to show in your bank account. Otherwise, it's a problem. Are we clear? So please make sure that all these declarations that you do, you have the proper documentary evidence for it. And documentary evidence is not just the receipts, but it is also your bank statement which should be reflecting it. Similarly, in ATG, now from last 2 years, there is a new procedure in ATG where earlier what used to happen is when you make a donation, you would get a receipt, and the receipt would have the notification number and ATG number, and that would be sufficient for you to claim ATG. Now they've changed that. Now all charitable trusts are required to file a return in the month of May. And in that return, they have to give the list of all the donors who have made a donation to them, along with the PAN number or the Aadhaar number of those donors. So charitable trust will file this, return, and the donation that you are claiming in your return has to match with the donation that is reported by the charitable trust. Now, how do you match this? Charitable trust, after they file this particular return, just like when you file a TDS return, you get TDS certificates. Charitable trust, when they file this particular return for the donations that you have made, you will get a form 10BE. वहां पे फॉर्म 16 मिलता था सैलरी में, और बाकी सब केस में 16A मिलता था. यहाँ पे फॉर्म 10BE मिलेगा आपको आपके चैरिटी से जहां पे आपने डोनेशन किया. सो इफ यू हैव नॉट रिसीव्ड इट, गो एंड आस्क योर चैरिटी इफ यू इंटेंड टू क्लेम द डिडक्शन. ओके, डिडक्शन क्लेम नहीं करना है तो जाने दो, बट अगर क्लेम करना है तो वो चैरिटी को जाके बोलो कि भाई मेरा 10BE किधर है. So you go and collect the 10BE from the charity, all right, and keep it in your records and make sure that what you are filing in your return is matching with what is mentioned in the 10BE form. Otherwise, again, you could land up in trouble, right? So that is another aspect which you have to bear in mind. So this was the common checklist that we spoke about. Now this is the common procedure that you follow in all ITR forms. Okay, this is the common. Now we go specifically form wise, कि कौन सा form applicable in which situation, and if there are any particular thing that you have to take care in a particular form, we will be covering over there, right? Till now, whatever I have covered, any doubts? Yes, anybody has any particular questions, then you can just raise your hand and I'll be more than happy to answer that question before I go ahead. I hope the speed is okay. I'm not going too fast or not confusing too many of you. All right, so no hands raised, so I'm happy. There's two possibilities. Either you guys have understood everything I have told or nothing. Uh, so I will presume, it's safe for safety's sake, I will presume the first one, right? So good, let's move ahead to the forms, ITR forms. Now, since this seminar is primarily for individuals, I am covering ITR 1, 2, 3, and 4. ITR 5, 6, and 7 are for non-individuals. So ITR 5 is for partnership firms, LLPs, etc. ITR 6 is for companies, and ITR 7 is for charitable entities. So that I am not covering in depth in this particular webinar. Here I am going to be covering ITR 1, 2, 3, and 4 in greater depths. All right. ITR 1. Now, the most important part when you are covering ITR to know is that who is required to file under which ITR. So ITR 1 is also known as Sahaj. Okay, is the simplest income tax return. It's a 2-page form. It's very simple. All right. Form for resident individuals. Non-resident, ITR 1 is not applicable to you. It is for resident individuals with specific income sources. Understanding its eligibility, filing process, and verification is crucial for a smooth filing experience. Now, who is eligible? Resident individual whose total income includes salary or pension, income from one house property. So if you have 2 house properties, again, you are not eligible to file under ITR 1. एक हाउस प्रॉपर्टी है, सैलरी इनकम है, एंड आपका अदर सोर्सेज का इनकम है, लाइक इंटरेस्ट एक्सेट्रा चलेगा. अगर आप एग्रीकल्चर इनकम डिक्लेयर कर रहे हो तो एग्रीकल्चर इनकम शुड नॉट बी मोर देन 5,000. करेक्ट. 5,000 या उससे कम का एग्रीकल्चर इनकम है तो वो आप दिखा सकते हो. यहाँ आई बात समझ में? ओके. सो बेसिकली ये जो एट्रीब्यूट्स है, अगर ये सारे कंडीशंस फुलफिल होते हैं, यानी कि क्या टोटल इनकम शुड बी लेस देन 50 lakhs. You should not be a director in a company or holding unlisted equity shares. Now, if you are holding, आजकल क्या है, many people are investing in startups, many people are investing in companies pre-IPO. So at that point in time, they are unlisted companies. So if you are investing in unlisted companies, also ITR 1 is not for you. If you have long-term capital gains up to rupees 1.25 lakhs, I hope most of you all are aware that up to 1.25 lakhs, your long-term capital gain is exempted from tax. मतलब आपको उस पर टैक्स नहीं भरना है, वो exemption में आ जाता है. तो up to 1.25 lakhs अगर long-term capital gain है तो आप यहाँ पे फाइल कर सकते हो, लेकिन 1.25 lakhs से ज्यादा है तो आप यहाँ पे फाइल नहीं कर सकते. Are we clear? So ITR 1 is not for you. So who is ITR 1 for? Primarily, your income has to be less than 50 lakhs. You should be having salary or pension income. You can have one house property. All right. You can have other sources income. Your agriculture income has to be less than 5,000. Now, if you have business income, ITR 1 is not the form for you. Are we clear? If you are a director in a company, ITR 1, you cannot file. You'll have to go for ITR 2 or 4. Okay. Again, if you are investing in unlisted equity shares, again, in this particular case, ITR 1 is not applicable for you. If you have got long-term capital gains more than 1.25 lakhs, ITR 1 is not applicable for you. Clear? The procedure, etc. I'm not going into much detail for want of time, but basically this will be covered in the ebook that we provide to you. All right. And the key verification points, I have already discussed. The verification aspects is the same particular aspect. You verify with 26AS, you verify with AIS, the TDS entries, etc. You have to ensure are covered in your 26AS, correct? So these are the things that you have to really be careful about and make sure that everything that you are claiming in your income tax return, you have the supporting document with you to prove that. That is the most critical part. Second part is ITR 2. Now, ITR 2 is for individual HUFs with complex incomes but not business income. Are we clear? Okay. So if you have, मतलब ITR 1 के जो exceptions में अगर आप fall करते हो और अगर business income नहीं है तो ITR 2 है. Simple way to remember. Clear? तो ITR 1 किसके लिए है? Salary income 50 लाख से कम है, एक ही घर है, other sources का income है, agriculture income less than 5,000 है, correct है? You are not a director in any particular company and you are not invested in unlisted shares, then ITR 1 है. अगर ये सब कुछ नहीं है और बिजनेस इनकम इसमें से कोई भी एक वायलेट होता है और बिजनेस इनकम नहीं है, ITR 2 बाय डिफॉल्ट आप ITR 2 में आ जाओगे. आर वी क्लियर? ओके. अगर बिजनेस इनकम है तो यू हैव टू गो इनटू आइदर ITR 3 और ITR 4. ITR 1 2 सीधा निकल जाएगा अगर आपका बिजनेस इनकम है तो. आर वी क्लियर? लेकिन बिजनेस इनकम नहीं है तो ITR 1 या ITR 2 में से चूज करना है. ITR 2 इज द मोर simpler ITR. So for smaller cases, for simpler cases, ITR 1 is applicable. For all other cases, you have to go to ITR 2, which is the more detailed one. आर वी क्लियर? सो रेजिडेंट इंडिविजुअल एंड एचयूएफ विद इनकम फ्रॉम कैपिटल गेन्स हो गया, आपका मोर देन वन हाउस प्रॉपर्टी, फॉरेन इनकम एसेट्स, एग्रीकल्चर इनकम ग्रेटर देन 5,000, डिविडेंड इनकम, और सारा जितना भी कॉम्प्लेक्स है एक्सेप्ट बिजनेस इनकम, जितना भी कॉम्प्लेक्स है वो सारा आपका ITR 2 में आ जाएगा। क्लियर है? सो ये वाला पार्ट जो है, आई थिंक दिस शुड बी सिंपल। सो फर्स्ट थिंग दैट यू टू रिमेंबर इज दैट वेदर द एसएससी हैज बिजनेस इनकम और इट डज नॉट हैव बिजनेस इनकम। इफ ही हैज बिजनेस इनकम तो ITR 3 या 4 में से चूज करना है, अगर नो बिजनेस इनकम है तो ITR 1 या 2 में से चूज करना है। अब ITR 1 या 2 कैसे डिटरमाइन करेंगे? जो क्राइटेरिया हम ऑलरेडी डिस्कस कर चुके हैं। करेक्ट है कि भाई अगर बंदे का एक ही घर है, 50 लाख से कम का इनकम है, जो इनकम है वो प्राइमरीली सैलरी या पेंशन से है, अदर सोर्सेज का इनकम है, अनलिस्टेड शेयर्स में इन्वेस्टेड नहीं है, किसी कंपनी का डायरेक्टर नहीं है, अगर ये सारा क्राइटेरिया फुलफिल होता है देन इन दैट केस ITR 1, otherwise ITR 2. That should make life simple for you, I hope, right? Next is ITR 3. Okay, now when you go to ITR 3, in this particular case, this is for business income. Okay, this is for business income. So this form is for individual and HUF with income from profits and gains of business or profession, or if you are partner in a firm, तो आपका income यहाँ पे आएगा, capital gains, more than one house property, foreign income और income from other sources including lottery वॉटरी सब जो है वो आपका ITR 3 में आएगा। अब देखो इसको याद करने का तरीका ना बहुत सिंपल है। नॉन बिजनेस इनकम के लिए ITR 1 एंड 2 है, बिजनेस इनकम के लिए ITR 3 एंड 4 है। कॉम्प्लेक्स रिटर्न्स, करेक्ट है, कॉम्प्लेक्स रिटर्न्स जिसमें बहुत सारा इनकम सोर्सेज है और बहुत सारा कॉम्प्लिकेशन है, फॉर नॉन बिजनेस इज ITR 2, फॉर बिजनेस इज ITR 3। सिंपल रिटर्न फॉर नॉन बिजनेस इज ITR 1, सिंपल रिटर्न फॉर बिजनेस इज ITR 4। आर वी क्लियर? ओके, आई रिपीट वंस अगेन। ओके, अगर आपका बिजनेस इनकम है तो ITR 3 एंड 4, अगर आपका नॉन बिजनेस इनकम है तो ITR 1 एंड 2। Now within ITR 1 and 2, for simple returns ITR 1, for complex returns ITR 2, for complex business returns ITR 3, for simple business returns ITR 4. So ITR 1 and 4 are the simpler ones, 2 and 3 are the ones which handle complicated cases. Are we clear? Going into micro level, so if you are having business income, if you are a partner in a firm, or if you are having capital gains long term and short term, और इफ यू आर हैविंग मोर देन वन हाउस प्रॉपर्टी, ITR 4 में एक से ज्यादा हाउस प्रॉपर्टी हो गया तो आप ITR 4 से निकल जाओगे बाहर, ITR 3 में आना पड़ेगा आपको। अगर आपका फॉरेन इनकम है तो भी ITR 3 में आना पड़ेगा। अगर आपका अदर सोर्सेज इनकम इंक्लूडिंग लॉटरीज, रेस सोर्सेज, वो सब है, ITR 3 में आना पड़ेगा। लॉटरीज वगैरह भी होगा तो भी ITR 4 में फाइल नहीं कर सकते आप। आर वी क्लियर? ओके, so this is the eligibility criteria for ITR 3. So I hope again this part is very clear to most of you all, right? ITR 4, as I already told you कि भाई अगर आपका टोटल इनकम इज लेस देन 50 lakhs, अगर आपका 50 लाख से कम वाला इनकम है तो आप यहाँ पे आ सकते हो ना। प्लीज बेयर इन माइंड द वर्ड यूज्ड हियर इज टोटल इनकम, सो डोंट लुक एट टर्नओवर। Your turnover could be more than 50 lakhs, but if your income is less than 50 lakhs, income is your turnover minus all expenses. Okay, so वो जो नेट अमाउंट आपका इनकम अगर 50 लाख से कम है तो आप ITR 4 फाइल कर सकते हो। टर्नओवर आपका 2 करोड़ रुपया भी हो सकता है। आर वी क्लियर? उसका इश्यू नहीं है, बट आपका इनकम अगर 50 लाख से नीचे है तो आप ITR 4 में फाइल कर सकते हो। इफ यू आर फाइलिंग इनकम अंडर प्रिजम्पटिव इनकम, so what is presumptive income? So there are certain sections, there are 3 sections in income tax department, 44AD, 44ADA and 44AE। ये जो 3 sections है ये बेसिकली आपको क्या बोलते हैं कि आपको ये बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट मेंटेन करना, बिल्स मेंटेन करना, ये सब रामायण महाभारत नहीं करने का है। सिंपल तरीके से अगर आपको आपका इनकम टैक्स का रिटर्न फाइल करना है तो वो लोग एक परसेंटेज बोलते हैं। जैसे 44AD में बोलते हैं कि आपका जो बिजनेस इनकम है, आपका जो टर्नओवर है उसका 8% प्रॉफिट दिखा दो आप। इफ योर टर्नओवर इज 1 करोड़, चुपचाप 8 लाख या उससे ज्यादा प्रॉफिट बता दो। अगर 8 लाख या उससे ज्यादा प्रॉफिट आपने बता दिया तो उतना आपका इनकम। बरोबर है? आपको बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट मेंटेन करने का जरूरत नहीं, आपको कोई मतलब ऑफिसर आके पूछेगा नहीं ये बिल बताओ, वो डॉक्यूमेंट दो, ये डॉक्यूमेंट दो, कुछ नहीं। इतना परसेंटेज प्रॉफिट बता दो, बट दिस यू कैन डू ओनली टिल योर टर्नओवर इज 2 करोड़। वंस इट रीचेस 2 करोड़ देन यू कैन नॉट डू। सिमिलरली प्रोफेशनल्स के लिए ये लिमिट जो है वो 50% है और 75 lakhs का लिमिट है। So if my, let's say my, I'm a CF, I'm a professional. So let's say if my turnover is 60 lakhs, 60 lakhs का 50%, 30 lakhs if I'm offering as income, करेक्ट है? तो नो क्वेश्चन आस्क, मेरे को कोई बिल मेंटेन करने का जरूरत नहीं है, मेरे को कोई डिटेल में डॉक्यूमेंट मेंटेन करने का जरूरत नहीं है। करेक्ट है। 60 लाख का टर्नओवर पे मैंने 30 लाख प्रॉफिट बता दिया, सरकार खुश हो गई, सरकार बोलती चलो आपका कुछ चेकिंग करने का जरूरत नहीं, इतना इनकम बता दो बस हो गया। तो इसको ये सब फाइल होता है प्रिजम्पटिव टैक्सेशन में। प्रिजम्पटिव टैक्सेशन में ये जो फाइल होता है वो हमने यहाँ पे प्रिजम्पटिव टैक्सेशन में डाल दिया है। सो बेसिकली उसके लिए ITR 4 फाइल होता है। सो इफ योर इनकम इज बीइंग फाइल्ड अंडर प्रिजम्पटिव यू हैव टू गो अंडर ITR 4। लेकिन माइंड यू, अगर दूसरा कोई कंडीशन वायलेट हो गया, आपका एक बिजनेस है जो प्रिजम्पटिव में गया लेकिन दूसरा इनकम है जिसमें आपका इनकम ज्यादा है और 50 लाख से क्रॉस कर दिया, ITR 3। इज दिस क्लियर नॉट? सो ITR 4 का एक भी क्राइटेरिया वायोलेट हुआ, यू विल हैव टू फॉल बैक टू ITR 3। ओके। तो आपका प्रिजम्पटिव इनकम बेसिकली अगर है तो देन आप अगेन यू गो ऑन टू ITR 4 प्रोवाइडेड द अदर कंडीशंस आर मेट। इनकम फ्रॉम सैलरी, पेंशन, एनीथिंग अप टू 50 lakhs, अदर सोर्सेस सब मिला के, मतलब टोटल इनकम आपका 50 लाख है उससे कम होना चाहिए, तो बेसिकली आप यहाँ पे आ सकते हो। आपका लॉन्ग टर्म कैपिटल गेन अप टू 1.25 lakhs अगर हुआ तो बेसिकली आप यहाँ पे आ सकते हो। बरोबर है। और आपका अगर ब्रॉड फॉरवर्ड लॉस है, करेक्ट, मतलब पिछले साल लॉस हुआ आपको कैपिटल गेन में, करेक्ट है, वो लॉस आपने कैरी फॉरवर्ड किया ताकि करंट ईयर का इनकम के साथ सेट ऑफ करना है, तो अगर एक बार आप लॉस कैरी फॉरवर्ड करते हो तो आप ITR 4 के लिए एलिजिबल नहीं हो, ITR 3 में ही जाना पड़ेगा। आपका कैपिटल गेन साल भर में लॉन्ग टर्म कैपिटल गेन 1,25,000 से ज्यादा हो गया तो भी बेसिकली आपको इसमें ही जाना पड़ेगा। आर वी क्लियर? एंड यू शुड नॉट हैव इनकम फ्रॉम मोर देन वन हाउस प्रॉपर्टी, मतलब एक से ज्यादा घर हो गया तो देन इन दैट केस ऑल्सो you will not be eligible to file ITR 4. You will have to go to ITR 3. So primarily, अगर I'll quickly at the risk of being repetitive explain that complex business income ITR 3, बरोबर है। एकदम सिंपल केस हुआ तो ITR 4। कॉम्प्लेक्स नॉन बिजनेस इनकम ITR 2। एकदम सिंपल नॉन बिजनेस इनकम हुआ जैसे सैलरी पेंशन वगैरह सब एक ही घर है ऐसा कुछ है, तो देन इन दैट इज ITR 1। तो मेजरली फॉर मोस्ट पीपल ITR 2 and 3 में गेम चलता है। Are we clear? For majority of the people, ITR 2 and ITR 3 is where you will be looking at. Clear? Now, यहाँ पे जब हम फॉर्म्स के बारे में बात कर रहे हैं तो हमें ITR का जो रिजीम है, ओल्ड रिजीम और न्यू रिजीम, इसका ऑप्ट इन और ऑप्ट आउट का रूल्स मालूम होना बहुत जरूरी है। तो बेसिकली कैसा है कि फाइनेंस एक्ट जो 2024 में आया था, वहां पे गवर्नमेंट ने जो डिफॉल्ट रिजीम है वो डिफॉल्ट रिजीम न्यू रिजीम को कर दिया है। मतलब बेसिकली आप आपका रिटर्न फाइल करोगे तो आप बाय डिफॉल्ट न्यू रिजिम में क्लेम करोगे। अगर आपको ओल्ड रिजिम में क्लेम करना है तो यू हैव टू बेसिकली separately make a claim for that, and in some cases you have to file a form known as 10IEA। ये फॉर्म आपको फाइल करना पड़ेगा तभी जाके आप ओल्ड रिजिम में ऑफर कर सकते हो। ओल्ड रिजिम मतलब जहां पे हम डिडक्शन एग्जेम्पशन सब क्लेम करते थे लेकिन जहां पे स्लैब रेट्स बहुत कम है। क्लियर? सो ITR 1 and 2 यानी कि नॉन बिजनेस इनकम वालों को है ना चॉइस है, इस साल मूड आया तो नया रेजिम में फाइल करेंगे, मूड आया तो ओल्ड रेजिम में फाइल कर देंगे। तो उनको बेसिकली कुछ नहीं करना है, रिटर्न फाइलिंग के टाइम पे बेसिकली वो चॉइस लेना है। लेकिन अगर आपका बिजनेस इनकम है तो एक बार आप ओल्ड रेजिम से न्यू रेजिम में आए तो फिर यू टर्न नहीं है, वंस इन अ लाइफ टाइम ऑफर। एक बार आपका वो बेसिकली आपने ऑप्शन एक्सरसाइज कर दिया कि यू सेड दैट ओके नो वी विल गो इन द ITR क्या बोलते हैं हम, नया रेजिम में जाएंगे। वंस यू गो टू द न्यू रेजिम यू कैन नॉट कम बैक टू द ओल्ड रेजिम। Supposing you choose to remain in the old regime, then you will have to file Form 10IEA and then thereafter you will file your income tax return। मतलब 10IEA आपको तभी फाइल करना है जब आपको ओल्ड रेजिम सिलेक्ट करना है और आपका बिजनेस इनकम है। इन दैट केस बेसिकली यू हैव टू डू दैट। क्लियर? अगर आप न्यू रेजिम में वापस आना चाहते हो तो देन वंस आपने वो ऑप्शन एक्सरसाइज कर दिया तो आप वापस ओल्ड रेजिम में नहीं जा सकते। क्लियर? ओके, सो दैट पार्ट यू हैव टू बी वेरी वेरी क्लियर अबाउट। ओके, नाउ याद रखिए ये न्यू रेजिम और ओल्ड रेजिम, इसके बारे में हम थोड़ी देर बाद थोड़ा सा और डिटेल में डिस्कस करेंगे। तो इसमें फंडा क्या है कि आपका जो बहुत सारे लोगों को क्या लगता है करंट ईयर का टैक्स कंपेयर करते हैं, अच्छा करंट ईयर न्यू रेजिम में टैक्स कम है, ओल्ड रेजिम में टैक्स ज्यादा है, फाइल कर दो न्यू रेजिम। करेक्ट है, विदाउट रियलाइजिंग कि भैया एक बार आपने न्यू रेजिम लिया तो बहुत सारा ब्रॉड फॉरवर्ड लॉसेस, फॉर एग्जांपल अगर आपका हाउस प्रॉपर्टी में ब्रॉड फॉरवर्ड लॉस है, जैसे ही आप न्यू रेजिम में गए वो सारा का सारा ब्रॉड फॉरवर्ड लॉस लैप्स हो गया। अब आप एक साल न्यू रेजिम में फाइल किया, अगले साल आपको वापस ओल्ड रेजिम में आना है तो वो ब्रॉड फॉरवर्ड लॉस गया आपका। अभी आप वापस ये नहीं क्लेम कर सकते कि यार अभी मैं ओल्ड रेजिम में हूं तो वो जो लास्ट ईयर तो मैंने नहीं क्लेम किया तो अभी मैं क्लेम करूं, नहीं। द मिनट यू एक्सरसाइज न्यू रेजिम यू वेव्ड ऑफ योर ब्रॉड फॉरवर्ड लॉस, वो परमानेंटली गया। और ऐसे बहुत सारे प्रोविजंस हैं जो बेसिकली आप जब न्यू रेजिम में जाते हो तो आप फोरगो करना आपको मैंडेटरी है. ओके, सो प्लीज बेयर दैट इन माइंड व्हेन यू आर ऑप्टिंग फॉर ओल्ड रेजिम और न्यू रेजिम. अनफॉर्चुनेटली इसका कोई स्टैंडर्ड फॉर्मूला नहीं है जो मैं आपको दे सकता हूँ कि यार ऐसा होएगा तो न्यू रेजिम करो, ऐसा होएगा तो ओल्ड रेजिम करो. केस टू केस बेसिस पे हमें देखना पड़ता है, समझना पड़ता है, एंड देन वी कैन इवेल्युएट एज टू व्हाट इज द बेस्ट ऑप्शन. बट टिल देन यू हैव टू स्टिक टू वन पर्टिकुलर regime. Or rather, basically, my suggestion would be to take proper professional advice before you make your final decision. Okay. ITR 5, 6, and 7, as I told you, I'm not covering them in greater depth today because these are pertaining to LLPs and AOPs and BOIs. ITR 5, ITR 6 is for companies other than Section 10 companies. And ITR 7 is for trusts, for charitable trusts, political parties, institutions, etc. इनके लिए ITR 7 apply होता है. So this is just for information sake. Yeah. Now, what are the common errors that occur when you are filing your ITR? This part is very, very important. So I'll request all to pay attention. Now, before I go on to that part, can I please request everyone that, if you've understood how to select your correct ITR form, so please type clear in the chat box so that I know that you are with me. And this time I'd request more participation by everybody to please type in, so it's a little motivation for us also to see that you are with me and you are understanding this particular part, right? Any questions also that anybody has, please feel free to ask. So I may be able to guide any particular part that you might be not clear about. So is there any particular doubt or any particular question, or if you are totally clear as to how to select the correct form, so please just type clear in the chat box so I'm aware that you've understood this particular part. Okay, so there's a question as to what is the duty for filing financial in MCA, which is the Ministry of Company Affairs, and who is supposed to do. So usually company secretaries file that. Chartered accountants can also do that. And the due date is, it's a technical part. Again, not part of this particular seminar, but since you've asked, I'll just reply that it is pertaining to your AGM. So once you hold your AGM, it is 30 days from that particular AGM where you are required to file your financials in MCA, Ministry of Corporate Affairs. Yeah, somebody has raised their hand. I believe it's Mr. Sahu. Sahu, can you unmute yourself, please? I'm not able to see you here. Can you raise your hand again? Okay, how can you send non-verbal feedback? I think the best thing is the chat. I'm not sure what all emojis and etc. can be handled. So that, yeah, that I'm not particularly sure. I'm sorry, but yeah, this is how basically you can ask, or yeah, raising your hand is one of the best ways. So Mr. Sahu, you can unmute yourself.
Sir, am I audible, sir?
Yeah. Please ask your question, sir.
Sir, suppose in the same financial year,
Yeah.
I have salary income and again there is some retainership income, which is professional income.
Correct.
So what is the form I can use and how I will claim my
ITR 3, sir. ITR 3. You will have to use ITR 3.
Yeah? Okay. Both
because the
income
minute you have retainership income will be taxed under business and profession. So
Yes,
once you
sir.
do that, ITR 1 and 2 is out of the picture, sir.
Okay. So ITR 3 is the correct form to use.
ITR 3 is the correct form. Absolutely.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
So that is ITR 4 also could be there, but the criteria of ITR 4 you have to check. If you are falling under any of that.
But sir, can I claim that 50% income as a day?
So what is the profession that you are following?
That is mainly accounting profession. I am a basically cost accountant.
Yes.
I am retired and now taking as a return.
Correct. So as per section 44A, you come under the definition of profession. So you
Yes,
can claim the retainership benefit. You can claim 44 ADA.
okay. So
That of
so entire salary income I will show, and again from this professional income I will show 50% as income.
absolutely. That is doable. That is absolutely doable.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So let's carry on, and thank you guys for participating. It's really appreciate. Now let's move on to the common mistakes that most people make when they are filing their ITR. Okay. Just a moment. Getting back to the presentation. Okay, so the common mistakes that typically occur when you are filing your ITR, all right, are somewhat like this. HRA and rent issues. Now, I already spoke about this, that if you are paying rent of more than 50,000 and if you are not deducting TDS of your landlord, and then in that case, basically you could fall into trouble. Are we clear? Especially if your landlord is not declaring that income, or if you are not able to prove that you have actually paid the particular rental. So it is very important to have a registered agreement, very important to have rent receipts, very important to have the transaction very clearly being shown in your bank account, and if it is more than 50,000, then आपको TDS return file करना. It's a separate procedure. I won't go into much detail in that, but yes, that is the procedure that you have to follow. Okay. Interest income, many people forget to show interest income from other sources. Now, as I told you, this income is already being shown in your 26AS. And if not, if TDS is not deducted, then it is definitely showing in your AIS statement. So if you don't declare your interest income, and if it is reflecting in your AIS statement, it will immediately trigger a notice. Capital gain reporting, this is a big area of issue. यहाँ पे इतना mismatches होता है, but आपको ये deal करना पड़ेगा. So the capital gains that you are reporting in your income tax return and what is being shown in the AIS has to be reconciled. If this is not reconciled, it will be trouble. Are we clear? And as I told you, various mistakes happen over here, like the switch example I gave you. Correct. So various times you will find that what you are declaring in your return and what is there in the AIS statement is different. And when you prepare the reconciliation, you come to know the real issues. Okay. So that is another important aspect. Then for deductions, as I told you, your LIC premiums and your PPFs and ELSS and all that, proper documentation, detailed information, and entry into your bank account has to be shown. If that is not there, then in the case comes up for scrutiny, you will land up in trouble. Okay, foreign assets omission. Now there is a schedule called Schedule FA, all right, which stands for FA stands for foreign assets. Now, if you have assets abroad, please make sure you are declaring it, because if you don't declare, please remember nowadays majority of India has got information exchange agreements. This is something called as IEA, information exchange agreements with several international countries. As per that, what happens is both countries exchange information. So if you are holding assets, let's say in US, the United States government is sharing that information with the income tax department in India. Okay. So if you are not declaring that you have foreign assets, but the government comes to know and they come after you, it will be a massive trouble. So please make sure that, that is taken care of. Then, as I told you, form mismatches, that is mismatch between your 26AS, AIS, TIS and your ITR. So those have to be reconciled. I've already spoken about that. Exempt income. Now, sometimes, what people do is because that income is exempt, they don't report it only, like your PPF interest or and various other types of interest income which are exempted. Exempt या tax नहीं भरना है, छोड़ दो. Declare it. As I told you, there is no single person out there who is today sitting and reconciling. All right. So basically, if there is a mismatch, it will unnecessarily trigger a notice. So please make sure that you declare it and you declare it properly. That is very, very important. Correct. Now, cross-checking your information. Again, we have touched upon this briefly, but there are some nuances which I'll be talking about. All right. Interest certificates from all your banks where you are having FDs or where you are having interest income. At the end of the financial year, banks basically give what you call as an interest certificate. Please collect that interest certificate and either in soft copy or in hard copy, keep a separate file of it. Very, very important. Okay. And make sure that you report that accurately in your income tax return. Okay. 26 AS, AIS, I've already told you. Okay. Now, important point, clubbing of income. Now, clubbing of income is a concept, where someone else's income is taxed in your hands. For example, you give 10 lakh rupees gift to your wife. Your wife keeps it in FD and she is earning interest on that. Now, that interest, that FD is in your wife's name. That interest is going to her. But because she does not have a source of income, you are gifting it to her. Then in that case, you have to take that particular income and tax it in your hands. Okay, majority of the people are not aware of this particular procedure, but this is a very, very important procedure where in the case of clubbing of income, you are required to declare that particular income and you are required to make sure that that income is declared and you are paying taxes on it in your return. Okay, because if you don't do that, then in that case, basically, you will again land up in trouble over there. Clear? So make sure that that income is declared and you are showing it appropriately in your ITR. Otherwise, basically, you will. Now, there is a procedure where, although, because I'll tell you what the complexity comes here. Now, you give 10 lakhs to your wife. So your wife's PAN number is there. Your wife's details are there. Wife puts it in FD. On that, she earns interest. Okay. And the bank deducts TDS. But the bank will deduct TDS in the name of the PAN number of your wife. Are we clear? Now, you are required to claim the income. But what about the TDS? There is a provision where basically in your ITR, you can declare that this particular income pertains to my spouse, it is to be clubbed, and basically you declare the income, you declare her PAN number, declare the TDS, and you can claim the credit of that TDS. Okay. You can claim credit. Many people, what they do is just for that much amount, for taking that refund, they make file the wife's return, show the income over there where it is technically wrong. Because the wife does not have a source of income. It is from your gift. As per law, it has to be taxed in your hands. Okay, so as a result of that, in clubbing, now this mechanism is there. Clear? So you have to be careful about that. Another example is minors. You put money in the name of minor. आपने FD डाल दिया minor के नाम पे. ये केस में क्या होएगा? इधर भी ऐसे ही होएगा. ये जो अमाउंट है ये आपके हाथ में टैक्स होना चाहिए. करेक्ट है? तो यहाँ पर भी आपको सेम प्रोसीजर फॉलो करना पड़ेगा. I hope this part is very clear. Then we already spoke about accrual and cash basis. Correct? If you are offering income on cash basis, the income is being the payer is recognizing it on accrual basis, because for banks and all, they don't have a choice. You have a choice as a recipient, but the banks and all, they don't have a choice. So they are required to file their return of income on accrual basis mandatorily. You can do on cash basis. So now what happens is that there will be a mismatch. So you'll have to keep a reconciliation of that. And if you are taking income on receipt basis, then make sure TDS is also proportionate. You can't take TDS on accrual basis and income on cash basis and then claim the credit. That is not allowed. Are we clear? Okay. And in joint ownership also, if the FD, etc. is in joint names, then if you are declaring income in both the names, then make sure that TDS or the credit is claimed in both the names. Right? Otherwise, again, this could be an area of dispute and an area where there could be mismatch. All right. So capital gains, I have already told you that you have to cross check with your broker का statement. Capital gains tax statement होता है, उससे आपको cross verify करना है. AIS, TIS से cross verify करना है. Correct? But don't blindly have a faith on AIS statements, because there are many errors in the AIS statement that is coming up. Okay. Property transactions, please be very, very careful. If you have bought a property or if you have sold a property, 99 out of 100 times your case will come out for scrutiny. समझ में आ रहा है? And remember what I told you earlier. Once your case is open for scrutiny, then everything is open. They may have opened it because you entered into a property transaction. That could be a reason why they opened it. But once it is opened, they can ask questions on your salary income also. They can ask questions on your FD income also. They can ask questions across the board in any head of it. Are we clear? Okay. So property transactions अगर आप कर रहे हो, तो please make sure that your transactions are absolutely clean. and you have all the details. So I'll just tell you, give you a short example, and you will understand to what extent the department is going. Some of you might have heard this particular case also, and if you are following my Instagram channel, very recently I prepared a reel on this particular case also. So we have an Instagram channel by the name of KnowTaxx, also on Facebook, so you guys can follow us. We'll share the links on the group. But yeah, so what I was telling was, in this particular case, there was this assessee who sold a property and he had claimed cost of improvement, index cost of improvement. Now he bought the property in 2002 and he claimed that he did interior work and he claimed that as cost of improvement. Okay, now as I told you, when the case is taken up for scrutiny, because he sold the property, his case was taken up for scrutiny. Now he has claimed index cost of improvement. So they asked him, okay, please show what cost of improvement. So he started showing all the bills, furniture bills and interior bills and everything. 2002 का bill सब निकाल के दिया उसने. बैंक स्टेटमेंट मांगा तो बैंक स्टेटमेंट का वो प्रॉब्लम था कि तभी तो 2002 का ये हो रहा था, बट वो उसने जो इनवॉइस दिया ना, उसमें ही डिपार्टमेंट ने उसका चोरी पकड़ लिया. यू नो हाउ? In 2002, basically he showed the invoices pertaining to the year 2002. Now, in the printout of that 2002 invoices, the font that was used by him was Calibri font. Now, जो कंप्यूटर में जो फॉन्ट होता है ना, वो कैलिबरी फॉन्ट यूज किया था उसने. पहले कैलिबरी फॉन्ट पब्लिक यूज के लिए निकला ही 2007 में था, और ये भाई साहब ने 2002 के बिल्स बता दिए. 2002 ईयर बिल्स ही शोन इन कैलिबरी फॉन्ट. Income tax is now using AI. Using AI, they caught this particular thing. They found out that it was a false claim. Entire amount पे tax भरना पड़ा, और prosecution proceeding अभी चालू है, वो अलग. Okay, so when I'm telling that be careful on these particular transactions, please be careful. We are talking from out of professional experience, right? Rental income, please make sure that the TDS and the appropriate section has been deducted. Otherwise, basically, again, you could land up in trouble. All right. Foreign assets and income, again, Schedule FA has to be, if there are foreign assets, they have to be reported. Very, very critical. Clear? A lot of this particular part and transactions are slightly complex, so I'm not covering them in depth over here. Okay. But if any of you have queries or concerns with regards to the same, and please feel free to consult us. Again, audit report data, if you are having, if you're coming under tax audit, then whatever income that you're reporting, please make sure that you are cross-verifying this particular data with your audit report and the data that you file in your return and which is there in your, what do you say, in your tax audit report matches. Because if that does not match, again, you could land up in trouble. Clear? Cross-checking deductions. Again, we've spoken of this. It's basically having your proofs validated and the entries in your bank statement traced to this. Correct? Now we move on to the next particular part, which is with regards to the old and the new regime and the various aspects pertaining to old and new regime. Correct? So there is the old regime where the tax rates are higher, but you are allowed various deductions and exemptions. Okay. And the new regime to which the government wants us to transition, where majority of the exemptions and deductions have been eliminated, but primarily what remains is lower slab rates. Are we clear? So with a higher income, your tax slabs could be lower. That is the advantage of the new regime. Clear? But it is much more complicated than it sounds when you go into the details of it. Clear? Now these are the slab rates which are given over here. So as you can see, that for income above 5 lakhs, you are already paying 20% tax in the old regime, but on the same income in the new regime, you're just paying 5% tax, right? So in fact, 20% tax slab in the new regime comes only when your income crosses 12 lakhs. Whereas by that time, you've already reached 30% in the new regime, in the old regime. Are we clear? So this comparison very clearly shows you the difference in the slab rates and the tax rates. So that is again very, very critical. Correct? So the basic genesis that you will find is that the basic exemption limit is higher in the new regime as compared to the old regime. Okay, the rebate that you get under section 87A, that rebate is again higher under section 87A. So you get 12,500 rebate under the old regime. In the new regime, you get 25,000. So in the new regime, up to 12 lakhs, if your income is there, zero tax payable. Up to 12 लाख रुपया आपका income है, तो आपको एक भी रुपया टैक्स नहीं भरना है. Are we clear? Okay. आपको स्टैंडर्ड डिडक्शन नॉर्मल उसमें 50,000 है ओल्ड regime में, यहाँ पे आपको 75,000 है. And so on and so forth. There are a few nuances or benefits which are there. which is basically available in the new regime. Like the highest surcharge rate in the new regime is 25%, which is lesser than 37% in the old regime. So these are the few highlight benefits of the new tax regime. Okay. Now these are various deductions which are available in the old regime, but in the new regime they are not. So what happens is in the old regime, while आपका slab rates नीचे से चालू हो जाता है, मतलब you are required to pay higher rate of tax, but that is on taxable income. Now before you arrive at taxable income, you are allowed a lot of deductions and exemptions in the old regime which you are not allowed in the new regime. तो फॉर एग्जाम्पल आपका एटीसी में 1.5 लाख तक का डिडक्शन है, आपका एटीडी में सीनियर सिटीजन का इंक्लूड करेंगे तो 50,000 तक का आपका डिडक्शन है, HRA वगैरह का exemptions वगैरह. So there is a significant amount of deductions and exemptions that you can claim in the old regime. And after considering that, when you compare, so the difference between old regime and new regime does not look that big. Okay, but again, this has to be evaluated on a case-to-case basis. Because in the old regime, while your slab rates are higher and your tax rates are higher, the main advantage that you have in the old regime is that the exemptions and deductions may be higher. Sorry, the slab rates may be higher, but you have a lot of exemptions and deductions. So these slab rates are applicable only to taxable income, which is after claiming these deductions and exemptions, right? So in a case-to-case basis, you will have to compare and see which is the better regime that is applicable. Clear? So you can choose the old regime when you are taking the full advantage of all these exemptions and deductions, then you may have the advantage of the old regime. For example, housing loan interest, self occupied property का housing loan interest का benefit आपको old regime में है, new regime में उड़ा दिया है उसको. करेक्ट है. आपका घर के ऊपर जो हाउसिंग लोन का इंटरेस्ट मिलता है न्यू regime में वो बेनिफिट नहीं है, ओल्ड regime में है. करेक्ट है. आपका एटीसी का बेनिफिट्स वगैरह सब न्यू regime में नहीं है, ओल्ड regime में है. So there's very limited benefit of deductions and exemptions in the new regime, but the slab rates over there are higher. In the old regime, you have deductions and exemptions which are there, but basically the slab rates over there are basically much, much higher than the new regime. So that's the key difference which is there in both the regimes. Clear? As I told you, 87A का रिबेट ओल्ड regime में 12,500 यानी कि up to 5 lakhs आपको बेसिकली है. यहाँ पर आपको up to 7 lakhs यानी कि 25,000 तक का आपका रिबेट है. करेक्ट है. This is just a summary that you will basically old regime or new regime में you have certain benefits. Pros and cons दोनों के हैं. You have to evaluate by actually taking up a case to case basis. दोनों में computation करते हैं हम लोग and जो beneficial है, and not just considering इस साल का tax but also brought forward losses वगैरह सारा कुछ complete करके, and even future कि भाई फ्यूचर में रिवर्सिबल हो पाएगा कि नहीं हो पाएगा. You have to look at both. So you have to look at past, present and future before you decide which regime to go to. Sometimes it may so happen that in the current the old regime tax might be higher, but if you have brought forward losses which you can set off in the next year, then you might still want to continue with the old regime and pay higher tax this year, because next year you will stand to gain much from that benefit. So it is not an easy comparison in simple terms, if I were to say, right? So these are some of the declarations that you are required to make on time with regards to your employer. 10 IEA, if you are opting for the old regime, you have to file 10 IEA, especially if you have business income, correct? So make sure that this is done properly. Otherwise, again, your default regime is new regime. So if you have not filed Form 10 IEA, even though you may have filed your return in the old regime, it will get rejected and it will be taxed as per the new regime. So be careful about that. This is a very detailed comparative list that we have provided of the deductions and exemptions which are allowed in the old regime but not allowed in the new regime. So you have things like your transport allowance, entertainment allowance, professional tax on salaries, conveyance allowance. Majority of these deductions and exemptions basically are allowed in the old regime but are being done away with in the new regime. So to give you a genesis, if you have deductions and exemptions, work out the old regime and see what works well for you. Are we clear? For those who have business income, you will really have to take a long-term call on this, because once you swap from old to new, there's no coming back. Okay, so that is very, very critical for you, each one of you to understand. Clear? Again, these are under other heads, like the biggest hit that you get is that your housing loan interest on self-occupied property is gone. Your entire brought forward house property loss gone when you go to new regime. Are we clear? So this is a very, very important aspect that you have to take into consideration when you are choosing between old regime and new regime. Similarly, your deductions, your depreciation and other deductions, again, you have to be very, very mindful about. when you are claiming these. Okay. So again, there are a lot of deductions and exemptions that we have provided over here. I'm not going into detail in each one of them, but I hope you guys get the genesis of the same. कि there are some like ATCCD आपका NPS में आप जो contribution करते हो ना वो न्यू regime और old regime दोनों में आपको available है, न्यू regime में भी available है ये. So that is something that is available. Then आपका चिल्ड्रन एजुकेशन अलाउंस दोनों रेजिम में अवेलेबल है. करेक्ट. ऐसे बहुत लिमिटेड बेनिफिट्स है जो न्यू रेजिम और ओल्ड रेजिम दोनों में अवेलेबल है. ATJJ डबल है. दिस इज अ रेयर प्रोविजन फॉर वर्कमेंस. अगर आप नए वर्कर्स हायर करते हो तो उसमें आपको सर्टन केसेस में वो डिडक्शन मिलता है. दैट इज अवेलेबल इन द न्यू रेजिम ऑल्सो, बट मेजोरिटी आपको न्यू रेजिम में अवेलेबल नहीं है. राइट. सो एज आई ऑलरेडी टोल्ड यू, न्यू रेजिम का प्रोस क्या है? लो टैक्स रेट्स विद मल्टीपल स्लैब रेट्स 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 ऐसे मल्टीपल टैक्स के स्लैब रेट्स आपको मिलते हैं. Whereas ओल्ड रेजिम में टैक्स रेट्स आर हायर, 5, 20 एंड 30. यही 3 स्लैब है, बाकी के स्लैब्स ही नहीं है. रिबेट अंडर 87 है, अप टू 7 lakhs आपको अवेलेबल है इन द न्यू रेजिम. इन द ओल्ड रेजिम इट इज अप टू 5 lakhs ओनली. न्यू रेजिम इज वेरी सिंप्लीफाइड क्योंकि आप ज्यादा एग्जेम्पशन और डिडक्शन क्लेम ही नहीं कर रहे हो, तो आपको ज्यादा डॉक्यूमेंटेशन ये क्लेम किया नहीं किया, अलाउ किया नहीं किया, वो मगजमारी ही नहीं है. क्लियर. सो दैट इज द एडवांटेज ऑफ द न्यू रेजिम एज कंपेयर टू द ओल्ड रेजिम. ऑलराइट. Deductions and exemptions, again this is something that we've already discussed. लॉस सेट ऑफ एंड कैरी फॉरवर्ड प्रोविजन. नाउ मेजॉरिटी लोग जो ये बात करते हैं ना ओल्ड और न्यू रेजिम का, वो खाली करंट ईयर का ये एग्जेम्पशन अलाउड है, ये नहीं अलाउड है, ये डिसअलाउड है, ये इधर अलाउड है, खाली उतना ही देखते हैं. बट ये सबसे बड़ा हिट है. हाउस प्रॉपर्टी लॉस, जितना भी आपका इतने सालों का हाउस प्रॉपर्टी लॉस होएगा, वंस यू गो टू द न्यू रेजिम, गॉन, वाइप्ड आउट पूरा. बिजनेस लॉसेस लिंक टू डिसअलाउंसेस डिडक्शंस लैप्स परमानेंटली. मतलब जो भी आपका डिसअलाउंस रिलेटेड बिजनेस लॉसेस है वो पूरा आपका लैप्स हो जाएगा. क्लियर. सो बेसिकली आपका इवन द सेम ईयर का सेट ऑफ का प्रोविजंस में, लॉस के सेट ऑफ के प्रोविजन में भी बहुत रिस्ट्रिक्शन है, वेयर न्यू रेजिम में आप लॉसेस सेट ऑफ नहीं कर सकते, वेयर ओल्ड रेजिम में ये सारी केसेस में काफी फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी है. And as I told you, because of the complex nature of the structuring of these provisions, it is not possible for us to give you a blanket formula. Okay, in this case, the old regime is good, or in this case, the new regime is good. I would have loved to do that, but unfortunately, it's not possible to do that. Clear? So as I told you, the entire process is that you have to assess eligibility, compare flexibility, old में, new में क्या है, deductions, exemptions क्या मिलेंगे, and accordingly you will have to take an informed decision with regards to which regime is better for you. Yeah. As I told you, new regime में compliance is simplified because it's आप exemption deduction claim ही नहीं कर रहे. Old regime में आपको documentation detail में maintain करना पड़ेगा. Clear? 10 IEA के requirements and deadlines for individuals and HUFs with business and professional income. They have to file 10 IEA and they have to file it before your due date for filing your return of income under 139(1). So non-audit cases के लिए that usually is 31st July. This year it has been extended to 15th September. For audit cases it is 31st October. Clear? So इसके पहले आपको 10 IEA, if you have business income and if you are choosing to pay tax under the old regime, then you will have to select that. Clear? And once opted, the regime can be changed in the future only once. मतलब एक ही बार आप ये पलटी मार सकते हो, उसके बाद आपको ये सेकेंड ऑप्शन नहीं मिलेगा if you have business income. Clear? For individuals and HUFs without business or professional income, you don't need to file 10 IEA. आपके लिए मैंडेटरी नहीं है. So if you are a salaried individual or someone who does not have business income, आप हर साल ये चॉइस ले सकते हो कि इस साल मेरे को नया रेजिम में जाना है कि ओल्ड रेजिम में जाना है. लेकिन एक बात याद रखो कि एक बार आपने नया रेजिम चुन लिया तो उस साल में जितना भी आपका ब्रॉड फॉरवर्ड लॉसेस वगैरह है वो सब लैप्स हो जाएगा. ओके. फिर आप अगले साल ओल्ड रेजिम में गए तो आप ये नहीं क्लेम कर सकते कि वो लॉसेस जो मैंने पहले किए थे अभी मैं ओल्ड रेजिम में आ गया वापस, तो मेरे को वो भी वापस अलाउ होना चाहिए. नो. So brought forward loss, when you first opted for the new regime, they will lapse and they will lapse for good. I hope that part is clear. Okay. Now, a few smart tax saving hacks, basically, which we can look at is NPS. As I told you, new and old regime दोनों में available है. Education loan का interest जो है वो old regime में available है. Gifts जो है, see, a major area of tax planning basically for employees खास करके is in the perquisite area. The rule 3 of perquisites under section 17(2). So there are many things which are not regarded as perquisite. For example, अगर आपका employer आपका medical cost reimburse करता है या आपका mediclaim का premium reimburse करता है, correct है, तो as per rule 3 of your perquisite valuation rules, it is not taxed. इट इज नॉट इनकम एट ऑल। करेक्ट है? तो आप 80D का डिडक्शन आपका गया, बट अगर आपका एम्प्लॉयर मान जाता है और आपका सैलरी का स्ट्रक्चरिंग इंटेलिजेंटली आप करते हो, तो रूल 3 में आपको बेनिफिट है उधर। So that is something that you can do. Even motor car, अगर आपका if your company takes the car on leasing and gives it to you as partly official and partly personal, then only a fixed value of that motor car is charged as a perquisite. So the rest of the amount is not offered for taxation. Are we clear? So what this requires is very intelligent salary structuring that needs to be done. If you are able to do the salary structuring intelligently, then you will be in a good position to structure your tax even in the new regime. But the options are limited, like the motor car, motor car and medical reimbursement. These are the packages which are available on which you can save significant amount of tax even in the new regime. Okay. And as I told you, when before you file your this thing, this is covered in detail in the e-booklet that we'll be giving you. All right. So you can go through that. Now, please remember to verify your return. Most people, once they file their return, they think it is done. No, after you file your return, you have to e-verify it. Okay, either through an Aadhaar OTP or through your internet banking transactions and stuff like that. So that e-verification is very important. Otherwise, the return that you have filed is not considered to be valid. Please remember that. Verification, e-verification in the parlance of income tax return filing is equivalent to signing the return. फिजिकल कॉपी जब हम करते थे तब रिटर्न फाइल में एंड में साइन करते थे ना। इमेजिन करो आपने साइन किए बगैर ही आपके सीए ने आपका रिटर्न फाइल कर दिया, दैट इज नॉट अ वैलिड रिटर्न। Are we clear? Okay, so without you signing, the return is not a valid return. वैसे ही e-verification के बगैर your return is not a valid return. Are we clear? All right. So with that, basically, guys, I come to the end of my presentation that I wanted to have with regards to understanding the key nuances of filing your ITR. All right. And I hope that this equips you to, file your ITR from anyone that you want to get it done, or even if you want to do it on your own. But make sure that these processes are complied with. Make sure that these the verification, cross verification, and reconciliation, those processes are followed so that you file your returns accurately. That part is extremely important. Make use of the checklist that we're going to be giving you before you file your returns, because that will ensure that your return filing is done accurately. Right now, for those of you that we have an offer for those of you who would want us to file your income tax returns on your behalf. So in that particular case, we are having a particular offer where the normal return filing charges that we have is 2,500. For people who are attending this webinar, we are offering it at rupees 999, where you can get your income tax return filed through us. Now, if you want your income tax return filed through us, for the 999, it's a standard return, which is that you have salary income with one Form 16, means you've not changed jobs in between. You have house property, up to 3 house properties is covered in this fees only. Your share market transactions, up to 100 transactions we cover over here. And we cover non-audit cases under this 999 return offer. And even if you have presumptive taxation, we cover that under this 999 offer. All right. So if you have more complexities, then what will happen is that we will take your case, we will understand it in detail, give you a quotation, and after that you can choose to file with us or not. So this offer for that is there is something where we are offering a significant amount of discount, where normally our return filing rates start from 2,500 rupees. Because if you have sat through the presentation all this while, you know the amount of detailed work that we do at the back end, right? And as a result of that, we upfront charge that fee because we don't want to earn the money from the stress of our customers, where they receive income tax notices and then they are required to, then they're totally at the mercy of the chartered accountant, and it is totally dependent on them, because the consequences can be very significant. We don't want to earn our money that way. We want to make sure that the returns that we file are so watertight that there's almost nil chances of a scrutiny coming up. And even if the scrutiny comes up, we are fully prepared, right? So it is the value of the timely advice. That's what we charge 2,500 for. But for all the people who've taken the time out today and who've attended the webinar here, I sincerely appreciate your effort, and a sincere thank you to all of you. And so to honor that, from behalf of our company, we are offering this particular service to you at rupees 999, where you can avail of this particular service. And the process that we'll follow is that once you make this payment, a link will be shared right now. My colleague sharing the link in the chat box, and we will also be sharing it on your WhatsApp later on. So you can just make the payment over there. And once you make the payment, my team will follow up with you. we will get in touch with you, and we will send you an email which has all the documentation that we'll ask you to provide. Once we have that documentation, we will make your computation. Then we will send it to you for confirmation. Once you give a confirmation, then subsequent to that, we'll be filing your return. And after your return is filed, we will send you an email which will have your return acknowledgement, ITR form, computation of income, supporting documents, everything in one email. So that email, you can just save that email for your records. So it's a very thoroughly professionally done up job. Right? Normal charges are 2,500, but for the people who have walked into the webinar today, and who've taken the time out on a Sunday evening, on a rainy Sunday evening, to sit through this particular webinar, we'll be more than happy to offer it to you at $9.99 as a token of our appreciation, right? And the other offer that we have is that, we understand that a lot of people might require consultation in various areas of taxation, where for a future transaction or on some particular matter, maybe some litigation of yours is going on with the income tax department on which you want some kind of advice. Then normally my advisory charges, consultation charges are 5,000 rupees for a 30-minute consultation, but we are offering that at 1,499. So again, we'll share the link on this in the chat box, and we will also be sharing the link on WhatsApp. So this particular consultation, which is worth 5,000 rupees, we are offering only at 1,499, where we will be giving you consultation on whatever area pertaining to direct taxes that you have a query on. You can feel free to call us. Book this particular call, and you will have a 30-minute session one-on-one with me. Before our session, my team will understand your query, and we'll ask you to be prepared with the right information and documentation so as to make sure that the consultation call that you have with me is fruitful, and you can take actionable decisions based on that consultation call. So these are the two offers that we have for each one of you, whom you can avail of these particular offers which are there. And besides this, if you guys have got any other questions and answers, please feel free to ask your questions right away, and I'll be more than happy to answer them. I can just stop sharing. Okay, anybody who has any questions, please feel free to ask. Thank you, Mr. Malay, for your kind words. Thank you, Mr. Isaac. So anybody else has any other questions that they would like to ask, or any particular feedback that you would like to give? I'd be more than happy to answer. Thank you, Mr. Narayan. All right, friends. So thank you very much for the patient hearing that all of you all have given. And thank you for attending this particular webinar. As I already told you that, we have this particular seminar that we are taking every particular Sunday till the 7th of September. Okay, so the same seminar we'll be covering next Sunday, again the same timing, say in the evening 7:30 to 9:30 p.m. All right, so if you have friends and family, please encourage them to attend this particular seminar. As I already told you that filing your income tax return Unfortunately, in these days of social media and stuff like that, it's kind of almost being made like a joke where people are telling that, oh, you can file your return on your own and you can do stuff like that. But they are not training people within these nuances. They are not guiding people in these finer nuances. So that is extremely, extremely important for people to understand, because the consequences, then when you get a notice, then these people are not going to be around. Then these people are not going to be around to answer your notices. They will not be professional enough to handle the department queries. And if they have not, see, once you filed your return, तीर कमान से निकल गया. Okay. तो वो एक बार तीर कमान से निकल गया, so then basically, it is going to be a difficult part of it. Correct. So that is another very, very significant part that you have to bear in mind. Clear? Consultation again, with regards to the question from Aniket, that if you have some doubts pertaining to execution, for example, you still want to file your return on your own, and you want in executing that, if you have some particular questions, then can you book the consultation call? Yes, absolutely, you can book the consultation call. But technically, I would wonder, why would you do that? Because consultation cost is 1499, whereas we filing a return is 999. So honestly, doesn't make sense. But yeah, still, if you would want to learn that way, we'd be more than happy to help you out in filing your return on your own. So that is something that definitely we can provide. Should not be a problem. So as I told you, besides that, there are a lot of, we do a lot of consultation with pertaining to real estate transactions, because there are massive tax implications when you enter into real estate transactions. So you can book a consultation call for any of those. For example, you are buying a property, selling a property, renting out a property, or taking a property on rent. All of these transactions primarily are covered. Besides that, we'll be adding all of you into our what we call as our KnowTaxx WhatsApp community. So once you are added to this KnowTaxx WhatsApp community, we will also share the link of joining that community in the chat box, and we'll be sending it as personally also on your WhatsApp. I'll request you to join that community, because then what can happen is that all the regular updates pertaining to direct taxes, we will be sharing on that community, and we will also try our best to answer your queries, if any, on the WhatsApp community. So once you are there on the WhatsApp community, you can stay in touch with us for various such educative webinars and programs that we bring in. And also we'll be in a position to help you out in a much better way. The communication will be a lot more easier. So feel free to join our WhatsApp community. This is exclusively for people who attended the webinar here today, right? So that is another bit of announcement that I wanted to do. And I hope that this webinar has added good value to all of you. We'll be sharing a feedback form, and I'll request all of you to fill up the feedback form and provide it to us, because that will help us improve the webinars, especially in this series where we are going to enter 3 more iterations of this same particular webinar. So having good, valuable feedback from you guys who are the first batch will be extremely useful. So we are sharing the feedback form. So please also provide us with the valuable feedback. Yes, Aniket, many friends, many people, who have filed returns on their own, or many a times, through not so professional people, they have made very, very big mistakes. And trust me, the consequences are very high. You see, the biggest problem that we face, when we are dealing with the department nowadays, is something like this, that the department feels, or it appears to them that, अरे everybody is doing it, मेरे को notice नहीं आएगा, why are you scaring us? Correct है. But what they don't realize is that it is just one mistake. Your case has to come out in a lifetime. Your income tax scrutiny does not come every year. It comes once or twice in a lifetime. But when it comes, okay, the amount of chaos that it can create in your life is so huge and so humongous that it can take away a lot of the wealth that you have earned all through your life. So, it is really not worth it, worth taking that kind of risk. And that's why it is very, very critical that you follow that aspect very, very thoroughly. And that part is done very critically. So once again, a very, very big thank you for all of you for this thing, for joining in. As I already mentioned that your inputs and your feedback is extremely important. So please provide us with your valuable feedback as to how we can improve our webinar even better and be more informative. And also we'd like to know from you if you want, more such educative webinars on more specific topics such as real estate transactions, such as share market transactions and income tax implications on that, succession planning in terms of taxation, those kinds of inputs from your side also we'll try and incorporate in the future sessions that we bring about. Because as an organization, the name of my company suggests, it's KnowTaxx, but spelled as KNOW. So it's to do with knowledge. All right. And we would be happy to educate our clients, our customers more and more on various matters of taxation, where they can attend this particular webinar and actually make the most of it. Whether you avail of our service or not is immaterial. What is more important is that basically you are educated and you take informed decisions. That is the more critical aspect of it, right? So I'm just keeping the chat box open for another 2 minutes because it's already 9:40, I believe, and we overshot the time. Oh, it's already 9:45. So I'll just keep it open for 2 minutes. If there are any questions or any queries, please feel free to ask. And once again, thank you very much to everybody for patient listening and for being such a lovely audience. We will be sharing the link of the next particular webinar with all of you all also. So if you have any friends and family, please feel free to circulate and get them also to join this particular webinar, because the return filing due date is till 15th September. And it is better that they file the return accurately, rather than filing it in a hurry. So I think most of us are done. Thank you very much, guys, for a patient hearing. And see you and good night. Have a good night's sleep and get ready for the next week. Thank you.